Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk coming at you on a Thursday afternoon. A lovely day in the capital city, and we're excited to be with you for a jam-packed 3 hours of 580 Sports Talk. Today, we are with you until 6 o'clock this evening. Dan Lucero, Brendan Wierzinski running the two-man game this afternoon. Spencer Dupuis out. He'll be back tomorrow. Lots to get to over the course of the next 3 hours. Some great guests, some great topics, your texts and comments. We are delighted that you are with us here on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our video stream as well. You can check us out on the video stream. We are live on Facebook, WIBW News, and we are live on our YouTube channel. 580 Sports Talk is the name of that channel. Subscribe today, watch the show live, comment in the live comment section with us and with other listeners to the show. However you're consuming the program today, we're sure glad you're with us here on 580 Sports Talk. The Gauntlet is over for the Kansas City Royals with a 9-11 record. Tough extra inning loss for the boys in blue in 11 frames last night in the Bronx, a 3-2 final score. The Royals lost because 4-3 final score, rather. The Royals lost that game because of the stupidest rule in professional sports. The ghost runner, extra runner, bonus runner, Manfred man, whatever you want to call him. It's the worst rule by any name in all of professional sports. And the Royals couldn't get theirs into the 11th, and the Yankees could, and that's why that game ended the way that it did. So the Royals dropped the rubber game in the Bronx, but come through that 20-game stretch where they faced nothing but first-place teams and 3 games with the Twins, who were ahead of them in the standings when the Gauntlet began. And they went 9-11. We'll talk about what that means. We'll talk about why, despite the loss last night, I was actually really encouraged by last night's game, particularly the managerial performance of Matt Quatrero last night. And we'll also talk about some things I don't like about the lineup right now, particularly the cleanup hitter. So some Royals thoughts to get us going today. And I do want to hear from you Royals fans out there who are also Chiefs fans, or maybe you would say you are a Chiefs fan who is also a Royals fan. I am a little curious as to whether or not what the Royals have done has detracted in any way personally from how closely you're following the NFL right now. If you find yourself a little bit less dialed in to the start of the football season because of what the Royals are doing, or if you're normally really dialed into the NFL season, if the Royals have caught your attention or held your attention in a way that, well, frankly, none of us were expecting when the season began back in March. Just kind of a curiosity from us about, well, what kind of fans are you? And how has the Royals' run for a postseason berth impacted, if at all, the level of attention you're paying the two-time defending Super Bowl champs? We'll discuss that a little bit later on. Speaking of the two-time defending Super Bowl champions, the Chiefs take on the Bengals on Sunday in a matchup of two teams that many believe have a chance to win the AFC this year. But after the opening week of play, are we perhaps overrating the AFC? Or have we just entered an era where the Patrick Mahomes to Michael Jordan comparisons have become more accurate in one very specific way regarding how we view the competition? Because when Michael Jordan was winning all his championships with the Bulls in the 90s, there wasn't any competition. No matter how much you tried to prop up another team, another player, another core group, they didn't match up, and we didn't pretend that they did. Are we getting there with the Chiefs and Mahomes? We'll discuss that and kind of talk about where the AFC stands after 1 week of play, sort of a 30,000-foot view of the AFC as a whole after 1 week. We've also got lots of great guests on the show today, starting at the bottom of this hour with Rick Peterson of TopSports.News for our Lewis Toyota Local Sports Spotlight. We'll get Pistol's thoughts on the high school football schedule, which kicks off tonight, about which more in a second. And we'll get his thoughts on Washburn's home opener against the Colorado School of Mines as well, and some other things, too, in the Lewis Toyota Local Sports Spotlight with Rick Peterson, bottom of this hour. Bottom of the 4 o'clock hour, Paul Myerberg of USA Today joins us for the Big 12 football breakdown. One of the highlights of our week. We love talking to Paul. He's the best. And we will talk to Paul Myerberg on the Big 12 football breakdown, bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. And at about 5:25 today, Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Chiefs, will join us for his first live appearance of the 2024 regular season. Of course, Mitch couldn't join us last Thursday because the Chiefs were about to play against the Ravens, but he will join us live today, and we look forward to chatting with Mitch and getting his insight on Sunday's clash with the Bengals at Arrowhead Stadium. Plus, all the things you've come to know and love from a Thursday edition of 580 Sports Talk, little either or over under later this hour, another round of What Is Wrong With You, our 580 Sports Talk headlines, including the rebirth of the Pac-12 that happened while you were sleeping / as you were waking up today.
Really incredible how quickly this developed. Like, just the other day, was it this week or late last week, we had a headline on the program at the top of the 5 o'clock hour that they were letting the option expire to extend their Washington State and Oregon State's extend their scheduling agreement with the Mountain West. They were just going to let it go. And then less than a week later, hey, watch this. Your conference is our conference now.
Yeah, I don't love it. I don't love how they've gone about it. And I just hope that everybody has realistic expectations of what joining the Pac-12 means at this point. Because joining the Pac-12 right now is like joining Journey right now. Like the band, like becoming the bassist for Journey right now. Like, cool, you're in Journey, but you're not really in Journey.
So, like, if you're John Canzano, yeah, you're going to have to retool how you think about the conference you cover. Or you're John Wilner. I think most people understand, and I guess I have seen a lot of, well, they're Power 5 again. No, they're not, and they never will be. That doesn't exist. Literally, that does not exist. That concept of Power 5 is gone. The Pac-12 will never be that again.
And I just hope that that is the understanding of the folks this morning in San Diego and Boise and Fort Collins and Fresno. And that's all I'm saying there, is that I hope that their expectations are calibrated appropriately for what this actually means.
I mean, I would think so.
Like, you're joining the legacy brand. Like, you're going on tour with Otis Williams and 3 other guys who were not the Temptations.
I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't, like, go look at the endowment of Washington, Oregon. Like, go look at the money. Like, you should know already. This is part of a bigger take of mine, that if you are saying the Big 12 needs to make sure it's not a minor league, you're already admitting it is. And to be frank with you, I think it is too. Like, there's 2 conferences that the people who control the sport care about. Then there's ones that they like kind of care about, and then there's everybody else. That's like the majors, AAA and AA at this point. Like, being pretty good in AA is good. I love watching going to watch AA baseball. And if you're just saying, hey, let's get a good product together, I mean, that's actually a really good football product that they're going to have out there. But yeah, I mean, if you think you're going to suddenly be in the running for an auto berth and a bye in the college football playoff, well, you've got another thing coming.
Yeah, I think that's the that's the conversation at the end of the day. We'll get to that a little bit more with Paul Myerberg and in our 580 Sports Talk headlines. Again, you are invited and encouraged to be a part of the discussion on the program today. Top City Metal Supply text line is open for business, 785-272-9429. Send us a text, 785-272-9429. You can also join us live in the YouTube chat if you are watching on YouTube, our 580 Sports Talk channel. You can interact with us and with listeners to the show in the YouTube live comments. And you can also send us a comment if you're watching on Facebook, WIBW News. We look forward to hearing from you throughout the show today. Royals fall last night in 11 innings, 4-3. And that's a tough way for the series to end. It's a tough way for that 20-game stretch that we called the Gauntlet to end. But look, you go for 11 with runners in scoring position, you're going to lose. It doesn't really matter, like, what else happens in a game. Typically speaking, you go 0 for 11 with runners in scoring position, that is going to get you beat. But I am less bothered about the loss itself, because extra inning losses do not trouble me anymore, because that is not real baseball. Extra innings are not real baseball. You play 9 innings, you don't get any free runners, and then all of a sudden, because Rob Manfred's lasting legacy as the commissioner of baseball is that there will be less of it than there was when he took over as the commissioner of Major League Baseball. There would just be less baseball. Part of his lasting legacy is deciding fans don't actually like extra inning games. And players don't actually like extra inning games. So we're going to shorten them. We're going to try and make them end faster. Remember 18-inning games? Man, I stayed up till 3 a.m. for a 22-inning Rockies-Padres game once. I loved extra inning baseball. It was real baseball. It was a real game all the way through. Now you play 9 innings of real baseball, and if you can't decide a winner, you do this crap, this fake nonsense with an extra runner, a ghost runner. It's the stupidest thing in the world. I don't care if you lose an extra inning game, win it, doesn't matter. They should be stricken from the record. Honest to Christ, I'd rather have ties.
I don't disagree with any of that, but the craziest thing about it is that players apparently love it. Like everything I've always read, that players love it.
I bet like the Anthony Rendones of the world love it. I get to go home earlier. I have to be around, play this stupid game that I hate that's made me a multimillionaire.
Yeah, I agree. I guess the argument in favor, and again, I would like to make it very clear. I think it's very dumb, and I would rather just tie as well. I agree with you. I'd rather have games canceled due to darkness than to do this, because it's dumb and it's like arcade baseball. That being said, like if I was told, hey, we're going to pay you the same amount, but you don't have to come in till noon, or like, hey, you're going to get paid the same amount every day, but you're off at 4, like, oh, that's kind of nice.
I understand that particular perspective.
But yeah, it's wild to have something that is so reviled. Like I've never heard of a fan who likes it. Like we've had this conversation before. Like low-level minor league baseball, instructional leagues, high school ball, I can understand, or like Legion ball, I can understand an argument for it. I can. Mm-hmm. Like you're playing games on a Wednesday night and kids have math tests tomorrow. Like I get it.
You might not have lights at the field.
This is the big leagues. Literally, this is what they do. This is everything. Who cares if you've got something else going on tomorrow? Your job is to play baseball. So it's wild that there is such, from what I can tell, such a disparity between fans who unanimously loathe it and players who are like, yeah, it's cool. It's fine. It's all right.
So I'm never really troubled by a loss in extra innings or like excited about a win in extra innings. It's not real baseball at that point, and the results are whatever. Like they fluctuate too from year to year. Like last year, the Padres were terrible in extra innings. This year, they're 8-1 in extra innings. So like there's no correlation. It doesn't mean anything to be good in extra innings. So I'm not bothered by the fact that the Royals lost in extra innings last night. I'm more excited about the way Matt Quatraro managed last night's game, because with the luxury of the off day today, we got to see what it looks like in a must-win situation for the Royals. And we saw the Royals' 2 best relievers cover 4 innings. We saw Lucas Erceg for 2. He worked the 7th, and no, he worked the 8th and the 9th. We saw Lucas Erceg for 2 innings, the 8th and the 9th. And we saw him in the 8th because it was the top of the Yankees order. And then we saw Kris Bubic on 0 days rest for multiple innings. Precisely the thing I was asking yesterday. I need to see it. I need to know that he can do it because he's their 2nd best reliever. We need to see him do it. We need proof of concept here. We got proof of concept. And Bubic's stuff was not diminished. Look at how they got their runs. A sac bunt and a sac fly to tie the game in the 10th. And then a infield ground ball, an intentional walk, and then another infield ground ball that Bobby Witt Jr. made a great stab on and just couldn't get an accurate throw into home. Like, that's not on Kris Bubic. His stuff was fine. Maybe you would have liked him to see him strike out Juan Soto. But here's the thing. It's really hard to strike out Juan Soto. Like, really, really hard. So I'm not fussed with like the fact that Bubic took the loss and gave up 2 unearned runs. I thought he looked good coming back on no rest and pitching multiple innings. I thought he looked sharp. I needed to see that. I think that bodes really well for the Royals in the postseason. Erceg for 2 innings. I thought that looked good. I needed to see that for the postseason. And more than that, I just needed to see Matt Quatraro do it. I needed to see Matt Quatraro fire that bullet and manage a game like it was a must-win game. And look, I don't believe in the concept necessarily of must-win games unless you're facing elimination. Like, there are must-win games in October. There aren't a whole lot of them from March through September unless your elimination number is 1. But Matt Quatraro managed that like a do-or-die baseball game last night, and I've been wanting him to do that more often this year, and he did it last night, and that makes me feel a lot better about how he's going to treat the postseason.
I would agree with that. I mean, it assuaged some of my fears that we talked about yesterday on the show about when are you going to be able to use these guys? There's going to be spot extra usage, et cetera, et cetera. If you missed any of that, go check out the podcast on our website or the YouTube channel. So that was positive. I would agree with that. I guess I'm a little bit more disappointed about the way it ended because I feel like with this Royals team, you should always be in a game. And unless it's like, I guess that's kind of it's just baseball thing at this point, since that's etched into the rule book. So I was a little irritated more than actually upset about losing last night. But I would agree with you, generally speaking, about the Quatraro point and wanting to see a difference between tinkering and feeling out and actually postseason baseball managing. Because to a degree, you are effectively in the playoffs right now without being in the postseason, if that makes sense. Like, your fate to continue going this season depends on you winning more games. Now, granted, it also helps that the teams below you could lose games and you would be just fine, but you understand my point. You are in a much more do or die part of the season right now, and I think your level of play, I think your level of intensity and your level of focus and urgency should match that. And I think the way you manage should match that as well. So to see him in a game like that felt like a big spot, and certainly was for early to mid-September, to see him manage the game in that way, the way he used the bullpen, I thought was certainly a positive. And I hope it's something that we see again between now and the final week of September. Like, I hope that wasn't just, here's a little treat for you, a little October preview. No, let's see this as a constant from now until the postseason. And I'm not saying use Chris Bubich every single day, but I think it is worthwhile for this team to get a feel for what playing postseason baseball is going to be like.
That's the positive for the Royals, how they've been managed to play. Here's a negative. I don't understand why MJ Melendez keeps batting cleanup. Why are we doing this? He's 4 for 31 this month with 11 strikeouts. He was 0 for 4 with 3 Ks last night, coming up with runners in scoring position, and you just don't feel any kind of confidence because he's not catching up to velocity. Once again, he is not getting to good fastballs. I don't know why MJ Melendez can't hit a fastball, but he can't hit a fastball. He's got what they call a slider speed bat, and that doesn't play. Like, pitchers are just going after him with fastballs up, and he can't get to them. He cannot get to the fastball right now. Stop batting him cleanup. I'm begging you. Hunter Renfroe, bat him cleanup. Paul DeYoung, who I think is like 5 for his last 38 after last night, he's struggling too. Maybe him cleanup. Maybe he'll get going, but Melendez cleanup has to stop. Like, that's a throwaway at bat right now, the way he's swinging it.
What would your replacement be? I'm not trying to argue to keep Melendez there.
I'd go Renfroe. I hit Renfroe cleanup.
Yeah, I probably would too.
I mean, it's the same thought because it's not like Renfroe is like leagues ahead of Melendez as a hitter, but the thought with Melendez is, well, if he runs into one, it goes over the fence because he does have 17 home runs this year. And like for your cleanup hitter, that's kind of what you want, right? Like, what you don't want is your cleanup hitter grounding into double plays. So maybe that's the thought, right? It's like Melendez strikes out with 2 on and 1 out. Well, okay, you just pass the baton to the next guy and you still have a chance rather than like maybe Hunter Renfroe is going to hit into a 4.63 or a 6.43. Like, if that's the philosophy, I could, that would wash with me a little bit better than just Melendez hitting cleanup on its face. But man, he's having a miserable September. 4 for his last 31 with 11 strikeouts. He was really bad last night. And the Royals were just 1 hit with runners in scoring position away from winning that game. And they got none in 11 tries. The Yankees didn't get one either until the very last batter of the game. Their runs coming on Juan Soto's home run off of Cole Reagan's, which, man, Cole, just go at him with the fastball. He's hopping around. He fouled the ball off his foot. He's hobbling around. Look like he barely stand up. We had a suggestion in the YouTube comments that might have been rope-a-dope. Christopher said might have been to distract Reagan's. I don't know. All I know is the guy can barely stand up. Don't speed up his bat. Throw him a fastball.
Yep.
Don't hang a curve. Bad pitch selection by Reagan's there. But other than that, I thought that Reagan's was super, and the bullpen was really, really good. And it's unfortunate they lost fake baseball in the 11th inning, that they couldn't get the fake runner in, and the Yankees could. That doesn't really mean anything. They don't play fake baseball in the playoffs. I should tell you all you need to know about this stupid rule. If they like the rule so much, they put it in the playoffs. They don't put it in the playoffs because it's not real baseball. So don't stress on that part of it too hard. So at the end of the day, the Royals against the Phillies at home, the Guardians on the road, the Astros on the road, Cleveland at home, Minnesota at home, and the Yankees on the road. 20 games that we called the Gauntlet. That was not an original thought. I think I saw it first from David Lesky on Twitter. Friend of the program, writer of the Inside the Crown newsletter. Royals go 9-11 in that space. And it doesn't look like that's going to suffice to run down Cleveland. Right now, the math really favors the Guardians. They're 4 up in the win column. But the Royals did, over this stretch, move ahead of Minnesota. They've got a real shot at the second wild card. And over the last 15 games, they're not going to play a team near as good as the ones they played in the last 20. And that puts them in a really good place. So, too, does Detroit's loss today. Hey, Brendan, who did the Tigers lose to today?
That would be the Colorado Rockies.
I can't believe it either. So the Tigers losing today means that the magic number for the Royals is now down to Dick Hauser. And again, if you're not of the vintage who knows who that is, look up at the scoreboard at, look over left field at the K. You'll see that number 10. That is the magic number now, particularly over Detroit where you have the tiebreaker. That means that if the Royals go 5-10 in their last 15 games, lose every series of their last 5 and go 5-10, Detroit would have to go 11-4. Like, that's what that math says.
And that certainly favors the leading team. That's championship advantage right there.
Yes, that's a big advantage right now that the Royals have. Off today to Pittsburgh this weekend, where they do not have to face Rookie of the Year candidate Paul Skeens. That's another good break for the Royals. They've got some other good pitchers, but at least they don't have to deal with Skeens.
Turns out kind of crazy. Never would have thought this at the start of the year, but in this final stretch, a stretch that includes the Giants, the Braves, a bunch of teams from the National League, one of the most important series of the entire season, 3 games against the Tigers next week.
Yeah, and those are 2-game swings in the magic number, right? Like, you win one of those, you lower your magic number by 2. You win 2, you lower it by 4. So,
I mean, you win 2 of those 3, and you're pretty much knocking the Tigers out.
Yes, that's elimination for the Tigers. The Tigers basically have to sweep that series.
Boston and Seattle are lingering, but just pick them off one by one if you can.
Yeah, right now those teams are both 5.5 back of the Royals and 4 back of Minnesota, who right now has that third wild card. Right now, it doesn't look like the Royals are going to catch Baltimore. They're 3 back of Baltimore. Baltimore, by the way, plays Detroit in 6 of their next 9 games. That's who Detroit's got after the Colorado series. They really needed to win today, and they let it get away late and lost 4-2. Detroit's got Baltimore at home, the Royals at home, and then Baltimore on the road their next 9. So I don't think it's happening for them. I think that's going to peter out for them, and the Royals continue to be in great shape for the playoffs. A little bit of a survey question when we come back. How much, or if at all, has this Royals run distracted from your Chiefs revelry to start this season? We'll discuss it next year on 580 Sports Talk from the Kansas Drive to Zero studios. We get things going on this Thursday. 3:33 on 580 Sports Talk. Rick Peterson of TopSports.News joins us in just a little bit for the Lewis Toyota Local Sports Spotlight. Brendan, you've always been more of a football guy than me. I've always been more of a baseball guy than you. We both love all sports, but there's one sport at the top of everybody's hierarchy. For you, it's football. For me, it's baseball. And I'm always curious about our listeners, and I threw a question out to the listeners before the timeout. And if you want to weigh in on the Top City Mail Supply text line, 785-272-9429, you're welcome to. You can also comment in the YouTube live chat. With the Royals doing what they're doing, looking like they're headed for October, and with the Chiefs being the two-time defending Super Bowl champions starting their new season at the same time, this is, as Paul pointed out in the YouTube comments, pretty uncharted territory for Kansas City sports fans. Like the Royals and Chiefs being good at the same time, not really a thing. Not really something that that anybody has actually had to deal with. So I put the question out there. Are you a little distracted from the Chiefs? Has the start of the Chiefs season distracted you a little from the Royals, or where do you stand? And we have lots of different opinions. First from the Top City Metal Supply text line. No change for me. I got room in my head for both and for Kansas State football. From the 316, can't we love them both? Of course you can love them both. What I'm asking is not...
You must pick. You're not allowed to like one of them
exactly.
from this point forward.
You must renounce either Patrick Mahomes or Bobby Witt Jr. You must do it. No. Yes, you can be room in your heart for both. What I'm asking for is room in your head. Room in your
attention span.
Yeah,
more
room
than
in your
anything.
attention span. I guess that's an even better way to put it. So some interesting answers in the YouTube comments from Christopher, who is the Bard, and I know a big Royals fan. I will admit the World Series run took some of the edge off of the 1-5 Chiefs start, but I found I could be celebrating and mad at the same time. He says, I'm used to following both teams at the same time. Mark says it's not hard to follow them both at the same time. Joe asks, are we cats? Can we not do both? Look, I'm saying for me as a baseball guy, like when my favorite team has been in a playoff race, I do find myself like sort of football sneaking up on me a little bit, where I'm predominantly thinking about baseball when my baseball team is in contention, or if my football team is really good, my baseball team is not. Predominantly ready to move on to football. For the last few years, that's been like Memorial Day for me.
I have gotten to a point with, the older you get, the more you have going on in life, the more things that grab your attention.
Boy, that's a fact.
I would say the last few years, because the Royals haven't even been close to playoff contention since 2017, the minute the Cubs are eliminated, I'm baseball's filler for me. Like, I'm bored. Maybe Game 7 of the World Series is interesting, but like it doesn't. I love baseball and I follow it. Like the next day I read, I'll go to Fangraphs. I'll go read, whoever the MLB.com writer for any given team. Like I still follow it closely, but like, I could watch this, or like Jacksonville State is playing UTEP on Conference USA Wednesday night. Like kind of interested in that a little bit more. Like that grips my attention normally. I will say, while the Chiefs are interesting now that they're on the field, I do feel like it is different this year for me, being someone who both loves both sports and also talks about them for a living, to say, hey, I don't need to spend all of my time on the Chiefs because there's something else going on. Normally, I need to spend all my time on the Chiefs because the Royals have 48 wins and it's October in 3 hours. Like that's usually how it has been over the last several years.
A good text for the 785. The Chiefs been good for a while, the Royals not so much. So I'm following the Royals while they're hot. Like, you enjoy this a little bit more. Maybe you're savoring the Royals a little bit more because it has been so long since they've been playing meaningful baseball in September. But sounds like we got some diehards is what I'm sussing out from asking the question. Was wondering if the attention span gets yanked in one direction or another with the start of football season or with the Royals in the pennant race. And it sounds like you've got all enough attention for both. And that answers my question resoundingly. And that's what I was looking for. So thanks to all the answers on the Top City Mail Supply text line, the YouTube comments. You can keep them coming. We have one from John who says, I have no problem ignoring the Royals. So there's that. You also have people who just aren't baseball people and people who just aren't football people. But we've got a good mix, and that's what I was curious about. So thank you for participating in my little experiment. Anyway, we're going to talk to Rick Peterson on the other side of this timeout. We're going to talk high school football. We're going to talk Washburn football. And speaking of Washburn football, Brendan, they're at home on Saturday.
That is indeed the case, Dan, and I have got a number of family 4-packs for you. Yes, you, to go to the Washburn home opener on Saturday. 1 o'clock kickoff against the Colorado School of Mines, one of 5 currently ranked teams on Washburn's schedule this year. So I've got a family 4-pack of tickets for color number 2. And I want to make sure to say that Washburn also wants to thank our local American Family Insurance agencies for sponsoring the home opener. American Family Insurance is a proud partner of Washburn University Athletics. Thank you to American Family Insurance, and go Bods. Family 4-pack, Washburn versus Colorado Mines, caller number 2, 785-272-9429. The tickets are yours.
Rick Peterson joins us next on 580 Sports Talk. In just a moment, We'll be joined by Rick Peterson of TopSports.News, looking to be joined by Pistol for the local sports spotlight brought to us by Lewis Toyota. And there's lots to get to on the local sports spotlight today. So we are out to Rick Peterson. Hopefully he will join us here in just a moment. We can tell you that our coverage of high school football for the weekend begins tonight. We got a Thursday night game out of Hummer Sports Park, and you can hear it right here tonight on 580 WIBW. It is 580 Preps Thursday Night Football, presented by Lewis Toyota, as the Topeka High Trojans host the Wichita Heights Falcons. Trojans are 1-0, matching their win total from each of the last two seasons after they beat Wichita West 52-19 in the debut of Jason Philbeck as their new head coach. And they will take on Wichita Heights tonight. Pre-game coverage is going to roll after we're done on 580 Sports Talk. We're going to bring you the 580 Preps Coaches Club from 6 to 6:45. You'll hear from 7 of the 8 city head coaches going into this Friday of action. And then we will have, obviously, our pregame conversation with Jason Philbeck. Yours truly on the call. Unfortunately, Spencer Dupuis, a late scratch. So it'll be yours truly flying it solo tonight from the booth at Hummer Sports Park. Looking forward to the action and seeing if the Trojans can start 2-0 after, again, just winning one game in each of the last two seasons. Then tomorrow night on our sister station, Country 106.9, KTPK FM, we'll have our Lewis Toyota Game of the Week for you. The United Kansas Conference matchup. We'll be right back at Hummer Sports Park, where we will see the Topeka West Chargers play host to the Shawnee Heights Thunderbirds. Both teams are 0-1 after losses to start the regular season. The Thunderbirds losing to Washburn Rural and Topeka West falling to DeSoto, another UKC opponent. So both teams looking to get their win column a 1 in it Friday night. Myself on the call. Greg Akagi will join me in the booth, and we'll hope to have Spencer Dupuis back to be on the sideline tomorrow night at Hummer Sports Park. Pre-game at 6:45, kickoff at 7 here on, or rather over on Classic Country 106.9. And again, here tonight on 580 WIBW, after we're done with 580 Sports Talk, we're going to bring you the 580 Preps Coaches Club for week 2. We'll hear from the 7 city head coaches who are not in a game tonight. And then, of course, we will hear from Jason Philbeck, the Topeka High head coach, on our pregame coverage of the game, and then take you right into kickoff of Topeka High and Wichita Heights. Saturday afternoon at Yeager Stadium, it's the home opener for the Washburn Ichabods as they take on the Colorado School of Mines, last season's national runners-up in Division II, the 5th-ranked team in the country. A stern test for the Ichabods in their first home game of 2024. Pre-game at 12:30, kickoff at 1. You'll hear that one over on our sister station, Country 106.9, the home of the Ichabods, KTPK FM. Brendan Dworzinski, you'll be on the call, and again, it's a really tall task for the Ichabods, no question.
Yeah, this is a Mines team that historically has not found a lot of success against Washburn. Ichabods are going to hang their head on that. 18 meetings all time. Washburn leads 13-5. Washburn's won the last 6 head-to-head as well, although the last time they played, you got to go all the way back to 2010. This is a tough test. I mean, Colorado Mines has been a national championship runner-up each of the last 2 years. Last season, they averaged over 52 points per game on the road. They've got a ton of talent back, including, believe it or not, Max McLeod, who's a redshirt senior wide receiver. He leads every level of the NCAA in career receiving yards among active players. They got a lot of talent back. New quarterback, so that's obviously going to be a major change for them. They had a multi-year starter there who played in each of the last 2 national title games. So yes, it will be a big test for Washburn, but 2 things that are going to help the Ichabods. One, that defense, really, really impressed by what they were able to do against Emporia State. Does not get reflected in the final score. I thought they played really well. Additionally, your 2 quarterbacks we're going to see action in this game on Saturday. Keller Hurla, Hayden Clark, 2 redshirt freshmen. Difficult in their first time out. Understandable. Pressed into service at the last minute. Struggled a little bit. Both of them know now with more in-game experience, they're going to be better prepared. It'll be an uphill climb, but I think this Washburn team's going to fight hard. And as Dan mentioned, that game can be heard at 1 o'clock Saturday over on Country 106.9 KTPK. Pre-game begins at 12:30 with yours truly, Greg Akagi and Trenton Kraxner on the sideline.
I am doing the PA for the game, so if you're going to be at Yeager Stadium, you will hear my voice booming over the loudspeaker from high atop. I get to do the voice of God stuff for a day. That's what I always used to think, that voice of God was PA. Anyway, what is the hardest name on the Washburn roster to pronounce?
I am going to I've got the 2 deep in front of me here. There's nothing too rough, to be completely honest with you. I would probably go with Justice Akinmoladen.
Akinmoladen.
That's probably what I would go with, number 96. Although, if we see my guy Oscar Adolfsson get into the game, the native of Uppsala, Sweden, I am excited to hear you try to pronounce that one. Fairly phonetic, but still fun.
I think I can probably handle that. Looking forward to it. Be a great day, great Saturday, great weather day out at Yager Stadium. Go on out and support the Ichabods. And we'll have some more family 4-packs to give away of tickets for that game later on in this show. Other high school matchups for this coming week. Told you, obviously, about tonight's game. Topeka High hosting Wichita Heights at Hummer. Topeka West hosting Shawnee Heights at Hummer is our Lewis Toyota game of the week tomorrow night on 106.9. Hayden's got a home game against St. Michael the Archangel of Lee's Summit, Missouri. They're 1-1 on the season. Hayden is 1-0. They beat up Eudora 35-7. It's a relatively new school, is my understanding. I talked to Bill Arnold earlier this week. You'll hear it on the 580 Preps Coaches Club. That St. Michael's a pretty new school. They lost big to St. Pius X last week, 57-7. Hayden, again, coming off of a 35-7 win at Eudora last week. That game at Hayden tomorrow night. Also in the city, you've got Highland Park going on the road. They're at Sumner Academy in Meadowlark Conference action. Highland Park beat Wyandotte last week 52-0, so a fast start for the Scots. Seaman's on the road, non-league action against Shawnee Mission East. Seaman and Washburn Rural both heading out to the Metro this week. Seaman 1-0. They beat Piper last week. They play Shawnee Mission East tomorrow night. They are 0-1. They lost to Free State 12-3 in a slugfest last week. Washburn Rural is at Blue Valley. That's going to be a heck of a challenge for the Junior Blues, who beat Shawnee Heights last week. Blue Valley's 1-0. They blanked Blue Valley Southwest last week. And, of course, Blue Valley Southwest has been a really good 5A program the last few years. So that is quite the matchup on Friday with Washburn Rural and Blue Valley. Care Paravel is also on the road. They are 1-0 in 11-man history. Care Paravel winning their first 11-man game last week against West Franklin. They go to Osage City, who thumped Olpe last week. That is going to be a baptism by fire for the Lions against a Osage City program that's been one of the best in the area the last handful of years.
Yeah, Andrew Gantenbein's team, they are no fun to play against, but they play a lot of really fun football. They are tough as all hell. That's going to be a fun one. That's a good test for Doug Von Ura's group. And look, we talked about it 2 years ago, their first year as a Acacia member, as an 8-player program, that you're seeing a lot of new opponents. These are teams that you are not familiar with. And then it took 1 year, and Care Paravel got very familiar and was a state semifinalist in 1A1. Now, maybe this is the year for that kind of baptism by fire, the year for that sort of coming of age in 11-man ball, but it's not going to take all that long for that program. I'm very certain of that for Care Paravel.
Couple of big East League matchups tomorrow night as well. Both Rossville and Silver Lake are at home. The Bulldogs trying to rebound from their overtime loss to the Eagles last week. They welcome in St. Mary's, who is 1-0 on the year after they thumped Perry LeCompton in week 1. Silver Lake, meanwhile, looks to go to 2-0 and tries to knock the two-time defending 2A state champs from Nemaha Central down to an 0-2 start. In case you missed it, they had a 26-game winning streak snapped in their opener. They lost 16-8 to Marysville last Friday. So that'll be a very hungry Thunder team taking on Silver Lake. And if that feels like that could be a playoff preview to you, well, trust you are not alone. Again, the 580 Preps Coaches Club at 6 o'clock tonight, leading into our coverage of 580 Preps Thursday Night Football presented by Lewis Toyota, with Topeka High hosting Wichita Heights. We're going to take a quick break here on 580 Sports Talk. Come back, wrap up this hour with a little either or over-under from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. 3:55 on 580 Sports Talk, coming to the conclusion of hour number one. Quick game of either or, over under. Either or, Brendan, which logo do you like better? Branding do you like better? The Pac-12 or the Mountain West?
Oh, man. That's a good question. There's a lot of what you got to, the Pac-12 is this historic brand. Well, not really. The Pac-12 has only been around for 14 years, or not even 12 years, whatever it's been. So it was the Pac-10, it was the Pac-8 for a while. So it's been the Pac something, but that's fairly new. I don't love its logo. I like the logo better for the Mountain West. Mountain West, I think if you're going to have all these different states all over the place that are represented, that one probably makes a little more sense name-wise. But as someone who just loves football, the history of college football, all that, it probably makes more sense to go with Pac-12.
Yeah, I guess so. Like, I like the old Mountain West Conference logo when there was actually a mountain in it. Now it's just that weird-looking MW. It looks like a comic book deal. Like,
yeah, that's true.
I don't know if I love that. You got an either or, over under?
Yeah, let's go over. Let's just go either or. I'll do a little tease for tonight's game, Thursday Night Football. Bills, Dolphins.
I
will be here to make picks later, so that's why I'm making sure I do this now.
I think the Dolphins might just make hay with that Bills secondary. I kind of think the Dolphins pick up an early season win. This is when they're at their best, early in the season.
I'm going to go with the Bills. I'm going to go with the best player on the field. That's Josh Allen. And the Dolphins had plenty of struggles with the Jaguars defense that is ascending, but is still not good. And I think Sean McDermott's going to figure those things out with the Bills tonight, and they get the win. Hopefully, Washburn gets a win coming up on Saturday. I've got a family 4-pack of tickets for you. I need caller number 1, 785-272-9429. We've got a family 4-pack of tickets for you. Call. They're yours for Saturday. Again, 785-272-9429.
Talking Chiefs, talking with Paul Myerberg. What is wrong with you? All coming up next hour on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk, hour number 2 on this Thursday afternoon. Great to be with you on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our video stream. Hi, viewers. We are streaming live on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. You can also catch us on Facebook, WIBW News. However, you are enjoying the show today. Thank you for making us a part of your Thursday afternoon. Dan Lucero, Brendan Wrzinski with you. Just a two-man show today. Spencer Dupuis will hopefully be back tomorrow. Lots more to get to on the program today. We encourage you to be a part of the show today. The Top City Metal Supply text line is open, 785-272-9429, 785-272-9429. From construction sites to renovations, from the farm to the garage, Top City Metal Supply understands the value of precision and cost efficiency. No more wasted materials, no more wasted money, just metal cut to the exact size you need. Top City Metal Supply is located on South Topeka Boulevard, just north of Forbes Field. You can also comment if you're watching live in the YouTube live chat. Again, the YouTube channel is 580 Sports Talk. Subscribe today. If you were a subscriber earlier today, you got to see me remember some guys. Another version of the Immaculate Grid with Dan was released today. The Royals were on today's baseball grid, so I thought I'd turn it into content. And I was pretty happy with my grid. I felt like I could have done a little better.
What was your score?
19.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm happy with it, but I felt like I could have done better. I felt like I could have gotten a better answer for the Rangers Blue Jays square, but life goes on. Anyway, you can check that out, and if you're watching the show live, you can interact with us via the YouTube comments. Like Steven here, who asks, Dan, I haven't congratulated you yet on being a new dad, so congratulations. Is he sleeping through the night yet? Quick dad story. Yes, he is. So far, my son Asher is just over 3 months old, and so far he is sleeping through the night. Knock on wood. I feel like I'm talking about a perfect game in progress. I feel like I might jinx it every time I say it out loud. But this morning, I don't know. He might have been a couple of ounces of milk short of being able to make it all the way through the night. So we have been used to, my wife and I, getting up around 7 in the morning and starting the morning tasks, which is right around when Asher wakes up. We get him a bottle, we get him fed, we get showered, we get our day started. He was up a little early today. He was up about 6:20. He was fussing and his eyes were open. So I was like, all right, he needs food now. He needs fed. So we got him out of bed. I got him changed. My wife fed him. I went back to bed. And then about 20 minutes later, I heard my wife come back to bed and put Asher in the bassinet. He's still sleeping in the room with us. He is very close to outgrowing the bassinet. We have a giant 3-month-old. I think he's about 17 pounds now. He should be about 17 pounds. He's gaining an ounce a day, which is normal. He's long. He's just an enormous baby. So he's close to outgrowing the bassinet, but he hasn't done it yet. Anyway, he's in the bassinet. He's back to sleep. I'm back to sleep. My wife's back to sleep. We look over, it's 8 o'clock. And our entire day's rhythm has been completely thrown off. We got dishes still in the dishwasher. We got bottles we got to sanitize. We need to make more milk. Completely ruin the flow of the morning. We have got to stay in a routine. That is the most important thing for expecting fathers, current fathers, would-be fathers. Stay in a routine if you can get in one, because getting out of it, it's going to mess up your whole flow, man. It's going to mess up the flow. I've been scrambling to catch up ever since. It's been one of those days.
Yeah. It'd be like that sometimes.
It really do be like that. Anyway, quick dadding with Dan aside there. Stephen, thank you for asking. Thank you for the congratulations. Do appreciate it. Anyhow, still to come this hour, we're going to talk to Paul Myerberg of USA Today for our Big 12 football breakdown. Love talking to Paul. One of the highlights of our week. We look forward to that conversation. We have also got another round of What Is Wrong With You? 2 new stories competing today on What Is Wrong With You. But we began with a look ahead to the Chiefs and the Bengals. Remember yesterday when I said, it doesn't feel like there's as much juice to this Chiefs-Bengals game as maybe there has been? I should have waited to say that until after Bengals media availability today. Because if there's one thing that we know to be true about the Bengals in the last 3-4 years or so, since they emerged as an AFC contender, it is this. They like to talk.
They're never going to shut up.
They like to talk. So here's a clip of Bengals receiver Jamar Chase. This is coming from Joe Daneman's Twitter account. Joe Daneman is a sports reporter for Fox 19 in Cincinnati. So this is at Jamar Chase's locker earlier today. And he is being asked about the talk, the banter, the billboard material, if you will. And this is what Jamar Chase had to say about all of that bleep talk, if you will.
In the game, yeah. You know what I'm saying? When the media come, y'all just blow it up and then make some stuff out of it. But I'll just wait till the game come now. I'm smarter than that now. I'm 4 years in.
Oh, he's smarter than that now, Brendan. Jamar Chase is smarter than that now. He's 4 years in. That would be news to the Jamar Chase of 4 minutes earlier who said this.
Everybody knows that, bro. It's not no if. You know what I'm saying? We are the team to beat in the AFC, and we know it. And we got to act like it. And we got to play like it, too.
No, I didn't grind my feet into Eddie Murphy's couch.
Perfect. Jamar Chase, we are the team to beat in the AFC. That would be the Cincinnati Bengals, who have, Brendan, help me, how many Super Bowl championships?
None.
And how many Super Bowl appearances in the last 2 years?
The last 2 years, none.
Is there another team in the AFC who might have been to the Super Bowl both of those years and won it both of those years?
That would happen to be the Kansas City Chiefs. And here's the thing about it. I think fans and some media too get really overly wrapped up in athletes' confidence. Like just yesterday, okay, different sport, but just yesterday, DeMar DeRozan was a podcast guest, NBA player, longtime NBA player, great player, said that he believes the Raptors would have won an NBA championship in 2019 anyway if they had kept him and not gone out and gotten Kawhi Leonard. He believes in the team that much, believes in himself that much. He thinks they would have won a championship anyway. And I saw people clowning him all over. Like, dude, you're an idiot. Like, you're not as good as Kawhi. But here's the thing. To get to this level, if you care about the game, and I think Jamar Chase really cares about the game. I think a lot of those Bengals guys do. I think DeMar DeRozan in the NBA does. You have to believe in yourself. You'd be like, well, yeah, I mean, we were all right, but we're probably not a championship team. Like, if I'm our number one, we're probably not good enough. No, you will never get to that level if that's truly what you believe. So I think fans sometimes like to clown guys for being confident, and it's very misguided. That is different, I think, than how the Bengals, and to a lesser extent, the Ravens, and like everyone else in the AFC have handled talking about the Kansas City Chiefs in the last week and the last year, not even full year at this point. Like, you are not the team to beat. There is a lot of empirical data that proves you are not the team to beat in the AFC. I asked this after the game on Thursday last week. What do the Chiefs do to piss these dudes off so much? Everyone's just so mad and butthurt about the Chiefs all the time. And I get being really good and you end up losing anyway. Like, I get it. I totally understand. I know all about the 1990s Utah Jazz. Like, I understand the whole concept of that. But it's this bizarre refusal to acknowledge that the Chiefs are even good. Cam Taylor-Britt, who's a starting cornerback, the best starting cornerback for this Bengals team, he was also asked about Xavier Worthy today and his media availability. You know what Cam Taylor-Britt said about Xavier Worthy? I got to get the exact quote here. Essentially is not buying into the hype from week one. He said this about Worthy.
That's quote, fine. What did he say? Something to the effect of, oh, he's a little bit unproven, but I look forward to the challenge of playing against him like any good competitor.
Even if he wanted to add some sauce to it. He had a big week one. I think we're going to shut him down. I like the matchup. That's something. He decided to go with, well, what do you think Xavier Worthy brings to their offense? That's the question. He responded with, quote, speed. That's about it. He can run straight, run jet sweeps, and just run straight. He can't do too much else, so that's about it. Why would you dare them? Why would you dare Andy Reid? What? It is possible that they decide, you know what, Xavier, you're running all sorts of different stuff. We're going to have you running whips. You're running posts. We're going to have you on a bunch of in-breakers, deep overs. That's what we're going to run. And maybe it works out. Maybe Cam Taylor-Britt has a great game, and maybe Xavier Worthy flops in game 2 of his NFL career. Or the thing that has always happened when other teams dare the Chiefs happens, and Andy Reid cooks up something, and Patrick Mahomes throws absurd passes that should never work, and you lose. That has happened pretty much consistently since 2018, with very few exceptions. The Bengals were one of those exceptions. We are now 3 seasons past that. Life has changed. The NFL has changed a lot since the Bengals beat the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game a few years ago. I think this team in Cincinnati can be good this year. I like a lot of the players. I like everything about what Joe Burrow brings to the table. He's the one who smack talks the least in public going into these games. But you gotta read the room here, guys. And maybe I'm being too kind by saying that to the team that's playing against the Chiefs this weekend, but this does not work out well. This never works out well.
No, there is no record of it working.
What's the line from Arrested Development?
Yeah, all those people tried it, and it didn't work for them, but it might work for us. Yeah,
that's what they're doing. You'd think you would adjust your approach. You'd think you would change. Maybe you go with the reverse psychology. Maybe Cam Taylor-Britt should have come out and said, man, Xavier Worthy, he's a beast, man. He's an animal. It's going to be hard to slow him down. Lull him into a false sense of security because the weird over-the-top bravado has failed and bombed and failed repeatedly.
I just don't understand because, like we've talked about, the Chiefs absorb all that. Like, you've never seen an Andy Reid team give another team bulletin board material during the week. It just hasn't happened. There's no record of that. And the Chiefs don't go like blow for blow, bar for bar with teams during the week. They're going to talk. They'll do it after the game. And also during the game. There's plenty of it during the game.
They must say the most absurd, in-your-face, inappropriate. Like, this got to be girlfriend's phone number stuff from the Chiefs to get guys this angry every week. It is every single week with these guys.
It begs a broader question. Like we were talking about yesterday, how the Bengals feel diminished from their heights as a team, which was that Super Bowl run that they made in 2021, where it felt like, okay, anything is possible. Like maybe Joe Burrow's the next one. Maybe he's got a little bit of Tom Brady to him. They've got incredible young weapons around him. They've got an outstanding defensive coordinator in Lou Anarumo who just shut down Patrick Mahomes. Like, maybe that was the peak. Maybe that was as good as it was ever going to get for the Bengals because they feel diminished ever since then. But every other AFC contender feels diminished right now. And I wonder if that's less to do with those teams themselves and more to do with the greatness of the Chiefs and the greatness of Mahomes, so that everybody now feels like the supporting cast and every other team feels like something lesser because of what the Chiefs have been able to accomplish. I am not the first to compare Patrick Mahomes to Michael Jordan. First I heard do it was Bomani Jones, formerly of ESPN. And it's not an original thought. It's not a thought that's exclusive even to just the two of us. But if Mahomes is Jordan, that means everybody else is like Patrick Ewing and Charles Barkley and Karl Malone and John Stockton. And
Sean Kemp had a great career.
Sean Kemp and Gary Payton. And you know what none of those guys ended up with at any point in their careers? Championship rings. And when we look at this class of quarterbacks, because that's what we've talked about with the AFC, right? Like, man, the AFC's got all the great quarterbacks. And that is true. Like, the balance of power in the NFL is, I think, on the AFC side. The NFC just doesn't have the quarterbacks. The NFC, who is the best quarterback in the NFC?
Like depends on the flavor.
Brock Purdy is in that conversation, and that tells you he would not be in the conversation even if you took Mahomes out of it, of the best quarterbacks in the AFC.
It's really a beauty in the eye of the beholder situation, because the list of NFC quarterbacks, like if you just go division by division, who's in contention from the East? Dak and Hurts. From the South, God, I'm not putting Kirk in that. No, I'm not even thinking of him the way he looked.
You love Baker, but he's not in that conversation.
No, he's not. He probably knows it at this point. Like, the North I think Caleb Williams will be good. He's not right now. I'm not putting Darnold there after one game. We've not seen a ton of love. His good, I think, is as good as anyone in the conference, but I think we need more of it to firmly say that. Jared Goff's been really good, but is it Goff? And then in the West, you've got Purdy and you've got Stafford and Geno. And I like Kyler. I actually like that division a lot, but I don't think Geno's quite there. I don't think Kyler's quite there. It might be Purdy. And that's fine. Purdy's good. He's a very good quarterback. I don't think he's as good as Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. I wouldn't put him there with Justin Herbert. I know a lot of people wouldn't put him there with CJ Stroud. And shoot, I mean, if you're not going to put him ahead of Stroud, I would say you should put him behind Love too. That's kind of what I mean by depending on what flavor you like. Do you like the Neapolitan? Do you like the mint chocolate chip? You can make an argument all over the place. Whereas in the AFC, no, Mahomes is great. Mm-hmm. Josh Allen is great. We know that. I have become more of a Herbert believer, weirdly, after they had a terrible year and he got hurt last season. But I think Herbert, talent-wise, is in that group. It's such a clearly defined group. But by the same token, everybody believes in Houston. Fine. They look really good. I think they're going to win that division. I think they're going to be a contender this year. The Chargers are rebuilding. They're going to be better than they were last year by nature, just having Harbaugh, but they're not anywhere close to contending. The Bills, I think, are not as strong as they've been in the past. I think they're a clear step behind the Chiefs. The Dolphins have never proven that they can win in the postseason. I mean, who else are you throwing out there that's even in any of the teams from the North? Baltimore hasn't proven they can get it done against the Chiefs. They're probably your next best team, and Lamar, obviously reigning MVP. Bengals have a ton to prove. Steelers, I'm still not convinced they have a quarterback. The Browns certainly don't. All this talk about this gauntlet of the AFC, but I don't know that it's actually as strong as we make it out to be. Is it a good conference, or are there good quarterbacks?
There are good quarterbacks, but what elevates a player in terms of what we think that they're capable of? Rings. And the NFL is not about rings culture, like RINGZZZ, rings culture in the way that the NBA is.
Rings, Erna.
Yeah, where your career is invalidated if you don't have the ring. I don't think we do that as much in the NFL, but if there's a position we do it with, it's quarterback. And Josh Allen doesn't have a Super Bowl ring. Joe Burrow doesn't have a Super Bowl ring. Lamar Jackson doesn't have a Super Bowl ring. And the question for them and how we perceive their teams becomes, what are they going to do to go get one? Because right now it doesn't look like they can. Right now it doesn't look like they can climb that mountain. Because the mountain is the Chiefs and the mountain is Mahomes. The mountain is Jordan. How's Sean Kemp going to go get his ring? How's Karl Malone going to go get his ring? How's Patrick Ewing and Charles Barkley? How are they going to go get their rings? Well, you got to go through Jordan. And historically, I think when you look back at that class of 90s basketball players, we kind of understand, hey, look, yeah, they were obviously all great. They just weren't Jordan and the Bulls. And I wonder if we might be doing that long haul with guys like Allen and Burrow and Jackson. But in the short term, I think it does serve to, I'll use this word again, sort of diminish these powers, these supposed contenders in the AFC, because we have seen all of them, with Stroud the notable exception. We haven't seen that yet, but he's new to the game yet. We have seen all of these quarterbacks try and fail to beat Mahomes in a big game. We've seen Burrow succeed, but I think more of that was put on the defense than was put on Burrow and the adjustment that they made at halftime of that 2021 AFC Championship game. And Mahomes got his lick back. That always helps. So these other quarterbacks, I think for us to believe that there's serious competition in the AFC, there has to actually be serious competition. There has to be a different winner. There has to be somebody who dethrones the Chiefs. And that's where we are, I think, with our perception of the AFC.
And that's why the Bengals had all the freedom in the world to talk crap after the 21 AFC Championship game. Yes, you did it. You took the flag. You captured the flag. You knocked them off the mountain. Whatever comparison you want to use, you get a whole year of bragging rights. We're getting farther and farther from that. The average NFL career is 3 years.
Yeah.
We are now in the third season beyond that happening, which makes that stuff ring more and more hollow every year when it comes up. Because it is at this point every year that it comes up.
We'll take a break, come back with a little What Is Wrong With You. We've also got Paul Myerberg joining us later this hour here on 580 Sports Talk. What is wrong with you time here on 580 Sports Talk? 2 new stories today taking on our current weekly champion, Bully, the nacho cheese bully, 47-year-old Myron Bully, a gas station worker who beat a man nearly to death with a baseball bat because he thought the guy was taking too much nacho cheese from the dispenser at the gas station in Las Vegas. Tough act to beat. We got 2 new stories today. First story goes to my home state of Colorado, where a homeowner in Conifer is facing serious allegations of shooting a teenager through the windshield of a car parked outside of the homeowner's property on Tuesday. The teenage boy remained in the hospital Wednesday night with serious injuries. 38-year-old Brent Metz, who is a town council member in Mountain View, Colorado in Jefferson County, charged with first-degree assault, illegal discharge of a firearm, 2 counts each of felony menacing and reckless endangerment, a misdemeanor. A 17-year-old and a 15-year-old friend had stopped outside a property around 4:15 p.m. on Tuesday. They hopped a fence and tried to locate the homeowner to ask if they could take high school homecoming pictures at their property. When no one answered, they told authorities they walked to an outbuilding where they heard music and found no one. Well, they couldn't find anyone. They assumed no one was home and returned to their car. Seeing the teenagers on cameras, one of the residents called law enforcement, saying the teens were trespassing. There was no indication from the caller that they were being robbed. It was an unwanted party on the property. Investigators say the teens shared they were in their Audi parked along the road, writing a note to the homeowners to ask for permission to take photographs there. A pickup driven by Metz pulled up at an angle, blocking their departure, pointed a gun at the windshield of their car, and fired the gun.
Jeez.
Metz did not explain why the teenager was shot to deputies, but insisted on talking to a lawyer. The 17-year-old victim says he did not think he was shot intentionally. He heard Metz say, "Oh, bleep, my gun went off." She pointed out that under Colorado law, it is not legal to use deadly force in defense of property, only if there's reason to believe there will be harm to oneself or others. Brent Metz was sworn in last year as a town council member. He bonded out of jail Wednesday. He is due back in court on Monday. Look, maybe the kid should have been a little smarter about hopping a fence and not have done all of that. They could have just left a note. That would have been fine. But, man, you don't have to immediately. It's just amazing how many people think, oh, we have to solve a problem. Step 1, gun. That is not how we solve problems. They only make problems.
In a literal sense, it is.
Well, how you make problems. This guy's got problems now because step 1 was gun. Anyway, that's my story today.
Yeah, man.
Wanted a photo shoot, got a shooting instead.
My story is going to take us to Harrison Township, Michigan, where a guy really did not want his car to be repossessed. So he came up with a bomb hoax. Macomb County Sheriff's Office deputies were called to a home in the 24,000 block of Bradford Drive in Harrison Township, Michigan at 9:05 a.m. Tuesday. Once on scene, police found a propane tank was seated in the passenger seat of a vehicle with electrical wire running from the tank to the inside of the middle console. Another tank was found strapped to the front driver's side wheel of the car with copper wire running underneath the vehicle. Multiple signs were also posted on the vehicle that indicated the car would blow up if touched. Police closed down the area, and the Michigan State Police Bomb Squad was called in to address the situation. The squad eventually determined the entire thing was a hoax, and the tanks were not actually connected to anything that could cause an explosion. Police arrested the 45-year-old suspect, unnamed for now, and will seek a formal charge of device representing or presented as explosive from the county prosecutor. The identity has not been revealed, pending formal charges being brought against him.
That story is really funny.
So he's going to get his car repoed. So here's the real dumb part of this. Your car gets repossessed and you don't have it. Or you fake a bomb threat, the bomb squad comes in, and now you still don't have your car.
Yeah, and you've got bigger problems.
Yes. Like jail and the bomb squad and the cops.
Not thinking about the consequences.
I don't even understand what the... do you think they were just going to leave it? Like, oh, there's a bomb. We're out.
Yeah, see ya. We're not dealing with this. They don't get paid enough to deal with this.
Yeah, that was extremely misguided.
You can keep it, sir. We didn't realize it was a conveyance for a bomb. Please keep your vehicle. Yeah, that wins today.
Yeah, I'm with that one too.
Yeah, does it beat our nacho cheese bully?
You know, I think this one's funnier.
I do too.
The other one is a little more violent.
Yes, very grim. Somebody lost their life, or nearly, with that one. Yeah, we'll go with this one. It's a little more lighthearted, a little more in the spirit of what is wrong with you. The guy who faked a bomb in his car to keep it from being repoed. We'll come up with a name for it. It's our What Is Wrong With You winner here on 580 Sports Talk. Paul Myerberg joins us next.
Need to be more like a dog. We don't need a bunch of cats in here. Unbelievable! We're back! The Big 12!
My name is Paul.
Welcome back into 580 Sports Talk on this Thursday afternoon. And joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline is the great Paul Myerberg of USA Today for another Big 12 football breakdown. Paul, let's jump right into things with the in-state teams where neither of them played their A game on Saturday last week, but one of them at least was able to emerge from a road test with a victory. So we'll start with them. The Kansas State Wildcats beat Tulane 34-27. Doesn't look like they've hit ramming speed on either offense or defense, but at the end of the day, is it more important for them to just have won that game and gotten out of Dodge with a good win against a quality opponent?
Oh, absolutely, guys. I'm so glad that you got to that point. I mean, look, you're on point. There's no reason to think that this team is hitting that full capacity yet. And I think there had to be, in hindsight, a bit of a learning curve, right? So that's acceptable. I believe in November and especially into December that this is a feather in the cap for Kansas State. Tulane might not beat OU this weekend, but they're going to be a team, and you guys can tell because you saw them on Saturday. This is a team that is very clearly in the upper echelon of the group of five. That's what it looks like through two games. So you go on the road and you beat a team that could win their conference, conceivably, that could get to a group of, wow, I forgot that we're 2024, that could get into the 12-team playoff. That's a feather in the cap. So I say, forget about the game tape to a degree. If you're a fan or you're a supporter of the team, just embrace the fact that you got a very, very, very high-quality win on the road. And I think that's going to matter, especially when you get to the selection committee week starting in November.
Were we a little bit too over-exuberant on the Avery Johnson hype train, or do you believe that this is just a natural part of the process for a sophomore making his first 2 career regular season starts, and that you've seen enough positive flashes from him, particularly in that second half against Tulane, to believe that there's another gear he's capable of getting to this year?
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt, guys. Yeah, there's an acclimation period for the team and also for the QB. And I don't think it's coincidental that those two things are going hand in hand and happening simultaneously. He's a young kid who is still adjusting to the speed of the game, to manufacturing an offense, to reading defenses. You have to adjust to those learning curves as a coach and as a team that surrounds him. I think what I've seen from Avery Johnson, I think I've seen way more positives than negatives, even if you can nitpick here and there. What I want him to see, or what I want to see from him, is just one complete game. And that's going to happen sooner rather than later. I think when you hit that complete game for Avery Johnson and you believe that you can do this, not just with your arms, with your legs on a weekly basis, that's the turning point. So we're waiting for that light, for lack of a better word, to turn on. But you can tell that there's wattage there. And this is a player. So they're going to be patient as a team and as a program. And I've got enormous confidence that Avery Johnson, by midpoint of the year, is going to be the player that we all kind of believe that he can be eventually.
Paul Myerberg is our guest. He covers all things college football for USA Today, America's newspaper, and he joins us every Thursday at this time for the Big 12 football breakdown throughout Big 12 football season. The other team in the state of Kansas, Paul, this past weekend lost to Illinois. We were all pretty confident that they were going to take down Illinois, but instead the Jayhawks have 4 turnovers, never gotten a rhythm offensively, had a terrible pick 6 thrown, and end up losing in Champaign. What was the big reason to you why the offense was never able to get going?
Yeah, so this is what I believe. And this is in conjunction to a degree about what I saw from Colorado. Not to compare these two teams, because these are two teams on different trajectories and currently on different steps on the ladder. They're not the same team. But I look at how Colorado has played through 2 weeks against 2 very physical teams, and I don't believe that the sky is falling. I don't think this is a good team or good program, but I think when Colorado gets into Big 12 play and plays teams of a similar style, they're going to be much more successful. I think Kansas is kind of stunned by the physicality of play that you saw from Illinois, and I think that's just rudimentary analysis of it. They were clearly not ready for that degree of physicality, and physicality does a lot of things to opponents, especially when it's defenses versus offense. The one thing that it does is that it messes up timing, messes up rhythm. And you could tell, as you said, KU was never, ever, ever in a rhythm. I think that this loss is bad. It's a bad loss. It's a loss that forces you to recalibrate what you think they're going to achieve in terms of wins and losses. Maybe now you're an 8-4 team instead of a 9-3 team. So be it. I think that Kansas needs to turn the page on this performance, on this opponent, and recognize that, yeah, they were kind of stymied by a team cut from a different cloth. But the way that they're built, they can still be very, very, very successful in the Big 12. So it's an immediate disappointment, but still, what you wanted to achieve is ahead of you. You can still get into the top 25. You can still get into a really nice bowl game, but you got to turn the page. You're not going to really face another team built like Illinois this season. Turn the page. Move forward. This team is not what they looked like last Friday. This is a better team than that. I have no doubt still, despite being a little bit wary of the fact that if they get pushed around again, that messes up their timing. I think KU rebounds. I think they're going to be fine. But yeah, let's not sugarcoat it. We all thought they're going to win for a reason. KU's the better team. So this is a disappointment to me, but it's not one that's going to linger too long.
It'll be UNLV that comes to Kansas City, Kansas to take on the Jayhawks coming up on Friday night. And that's a game that, well, KU beat them in the bowl game. I think UNLV, despite keeping Brennan Marion, is a little bit worse because Jaden Mayava's not there, last year's Mountain West Freshman of the Year. But even bigger picture than that matchup coming up tomorrow night, Paul, do you have any worries about Jalen Daniels' health? Because through 2 games, I mean, he didn't do a whole lot against Lindenwood, and thank God for that. That would have just been mean otherwise. And he obviously struggled against Illinois and against that physical defense. Are you at all worried about his recovery and maybe having a little more rust than we anticipated?
Yes and no. I think there's definitely a rust, right? And there's definitely a timing issue, not to reuse or recycle that word. There's a timing issue with him and his collaborators. And I think that's pretty blatantly obvious. Good thing about Russ, guys, is that, you shake it off, right? And I think Daniels has proven it time and time again that he's a player. He's a guy. He's an all-conference dude. So I'm not too worried about it in the big picture. I guess my little concern would be, KU won't take UNLV lightly, obviously. They just played them in a bowl game. They know they're pretty good. They know they're probably one of the 4 best teams in the Mountain West, thereabouts. I don't want to get in a situation against UNLV if I'm KU where Daniels is out of rhythm or out of sorts and you get into a shootout and you don't trust your offense. I mean, worse things have happened, but it's a possibility that something like that could happen. I don't want to see that. I want KU to step right out and get the job done. I think they will. And I think Daniels, this is the kind of game that he's built to play in. If it's up and down, this is his happy place, and it's KU's happy place. So, in essence, I think this is a great warm-up. You know, you face a good team that can put points on the board, and you get ready for the Big 12. So I'm excited for KU. I think it's going to be a shootout to a degree, but KU's got more than UNLV brings to the table.
Paul Myerberg of USA Today joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline for the Big 12 football breakdown. The best game in the country might be at Bill Snyder Family Stadium this weekend. It's tomorrow night when K-State welcomes Arizona for a non-conference game between 2 conference teams. It's the only ranked versus ranked game in the country. K-State secondary struggled a bit against Tulane. That obviously brings up some concerns about how they might deal with Tetaroa McMillan, who might be the best receiver in the country. What do you see as the most important factor to this matchup, and which shade of Wildcat do you think pulls out the win?
Look, I don't know what to think about Arizona, right? Because they're a team that gave up a ton of points against New Mexico. They're a team that struggled to put away Northern Arizona. I mean, they scored 22 points. So I'm not really sure what to say. I would not put them in my top 25. They are in the top 25. It is a ranked game. There's going to be a lot of eyeballs on it. So it's all good for Kansas State. Obviously, the McMillan factor is the biggest concern. It is the biggest concern. I don't know what you do if you're Kansas State to keep this dude completely under wraps. Maybe you don't, and maybe that's just acceptable. This kid goes 10 for 160 and you just eat it. And maybe that's the game plan. I mean, I hate to say it, but maybe that's the game plan. What you can't do is let the pieces around him really hurt you. If you're going to allow McMillan, or you're just going to accept the fact that McMillan's a game changer, don't allow some guy in their second, their X receiver to come up and go 8 for 112. That's a problem. Kansas State's formula and their blueprint, we talk about it all the time. Assert yourself, assert your dominance, control the line of scrimmage, make the other team uncomfortable. What I've seen from Arizona through 2 weeks, they're a team that you can make uncomfortable. And let's just remember, they've got the pieces, right? They've got the flash and the splash players. This is a different program. The trajectory of this program changed when Jed Fish left. I mean, that's just the truth. So I don't really buy Arizona completely as a top 25 team. I do buy Kansas State as one of the 2 best teams in this conference. So I think Kansas State should and will take care of business. I don't want to pick a score because I think Arizona could push this game into the 30s. But for Kansas State to be successful, obviously they got to keep Arizona in the 24 to 28 point range. I think that's doable. And I think this is a win for the Wildcats, for the Kansas State Wildcats.
It's good that you clarified. We were
thank you.
Important to clarify there. Now, as far as the rest of the Big 12, 2 weeks in, which team should feel the best about the way they've played, their trajectory, and their perspective for the rest of this season, based on just the first 2 weeks of action?
I would say Kansas State, but if you want to find a different team, you watched Utah Baylor last week. I think there are reasons to think that Utah left a lot of points on the board, that it was not the best performance for them. I just think Utah as a team has shown through 2 weeks that they're ready for this challenge. They're ready for this conference. They're ready to take on anything that comes their way. The one concern, obviously, is Cam Rising, and not just because he's got general overall health issues all the time, but he's not going to play Saturday against Utah State. If he's going to stay healthy and they're going to be who they are, this is the team to beat right now. And I say with all due respect to Kansas State, they're probably the team to beat right now. So I would put them at the top of the heap. But look, there are a couple of Big 12 teams that I think are doing pretty good play. So this is a conference that is starting to develop some momentum going into the next 2 weeks. So, I'd say Utah, Kansas State, as we predicted in August. Those are the top 2 that I've seen. But this is a deep league, and maybe Arizona is that second team. We'll find out by Saturday morning.
One of the projected conference title contenders did earn a win on Saturday, but it wasn't pretty by any stretch. I'm talking about Oklahoma State's double overtime win over Arkansas. And again, when it comes to November, they don't ask you how, they just ask you how many wins you have. But at the same time, did you see some things from Mike Gundy's bunch that maybe give you pause in that one?
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, this defense, it was really funny, and not to get too off the path, but at his presser on Monday, some guy asked him, hey, I saw some guys wide open down the field, but they weren't that wide open. And Gundy's response was, well, you're a homer, because they were wide open. And Arkansas guys were wide open. So I come out of that win feeling, hey, you're right. A win is a win. It's against Arkansas, against the SEC. Oklahoma State's got a lot to work on defense. So it's hard for me right now to say that this is the team that is worthy of being viewed as number one. Clearly, they're a contender. But if Ollie Gordon's not going to get going and they're not going to cover in the secondary, then this is not a contender. So they've got to fix some things.
A couple more questions for Paul Myerberg, college football writer for USA Today, joining us for the Big 12 breakdown here on 580 Sports Talk via the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. At what point, Paul, do we need to start asking some more questions about Joey McGuire? Because 2 seasons ago on our program, we talked a ton about how, oh my God, you are not going to want to play that Texas Tech team, the way he recruits, the way they play. Last year was a disappointment. This year, they have a 1-point OT win over Abilene Christian, and last week got stomped by the Washington State Cougars. When do we have to start asking some questions about this Tech team?
I'm worried about the direction of the program. And like you said, like they were on cloud 9, 13 months ago, where you really thought this program, this team were going places. Now here we are. Like you said, Abilene Christian, the way they lost to Washington State, not even competitive. There are warning signs. There are some red alerts. He's recruited well. Guys want to play for him. He's got a great reputation. He will continue to bring in good talent into that program, but you're seeing a disconnect between the quality of the roster or the perceived quality of the roster and the performance on the field. So I'm stepping back from Texas Tech because McGuire and his program need to show consistency, and they've shown flashes of it. But look, like that's the difference between Kansas State and Texas Tech. 2 programs in a similar geographic situation, 2 programs that need to recruit and develop. Kansas State is consistent. There are 8 wins. Pull the string, 8 wins. Texas Tech is just not consistent right now. So it's hard for me to buy into the program. And I wonder down in Lubbock if they're feeling the same way, because Joey McGuire has a lot of fans down there, but the results on the field are beginning to be lacking. So I'm recalibrating. If that was a 7-5 team in the preseason, shoot, what's that? 5-7, 4-8 right now based on 2 weeks. So things have changed down there, I think.
Speaking of Washington State and stepping outside of the Big 12 for a moment, you knew we were going to have to get to realignment at some point. It's amazing it took 3 weeks to get to realignment, in fact, Paul. But the Pac-12, now the 6-pack, made it official on Thursday morning. 4 new members coming over from the Mountain West to the Pac whatever in 2026. Colorado State, Boise State, San Diego State, and Fresno State. A, what do you think of those additions for the OSU-WSU Pact? And B, who's next? Because they're not going to stop at 6. They've got to get to at least 8, if not 10.
First off, 6-pack, I had not heard yet, and I love it. That's fantastic. Secondly, the teams themselves don't do anything for me. And I will say, if I wanted to be negative, this is like changing the sheets on your bed, right? You're like, well, I mean, they're the same kind of sheets. This is just the Mountain West with a new name. But I'm a believer that the Pac-12 has to exist. And we talked about it last year. The Pac-12 has to exist. College football has to have a footprint on the West Coast. It has to. It is like vitally important. Even if you're not seeing California heavily populated, like with SC and UCLA, Stanford, to have that footprint occupied and have that brand alive is vital for the sport. So I'm all for it. Moving forward, clearly the rest of the Mountain West is on the map. You know, we're talking the teams that are still pitching to get into that league. Clearly San Jose State, UNLV, of that ilk, they're going to be in the conversation. Those are teams that would be first up on deck. But I would be really interested if I'm the Pac-12 and you're not going to be limited by just the geographic name that you've chosen, because clearly no one else is. Do you go to the FCS ranks? Do you tap into the Dakotas? The chatter guys going into 2 years ago, the playoff when the championship game was in LA, that North Dakota State was banging on the door to try to get into the Mountain West and into the FBS. Like they really wanted it. I don't know where that went because that kind of petered out. The opportunity is there. So I would be curious if they tap into the best teams that are in that region in the FCS, Montana, Montana State, North Dakota, South Dakota states. If they want to do that, that's a different looking league, and it's a really interesting league. The safer pick is the former Mountain West guys, but if they want to go 14 or 16 and really set themselves up in the possibility that an ACC collapses potentially, and you're left with just 3 power leagues, that's a great situation for them. So I see them getting not just to 8 or 10, but really pushing the envelope and trying to get not just Mountain West teams, but the best teams, regardless of the level of play right now that they can get.
All right, Paul. Dumpster Juice pick of the week here. Last week, Army took care of business against Florida Atlantic. Man, FAU is really, really awful. This week, though, I think this is our first truly disgusting game on the schedule this year. Hawaii at Sam Houston State. That game is disgusting in every single regard. Who you got?
I got Hawaii. And the only reason I got Hawaii is that there is a place in my heart as a fan for Timmy Chang. I love Timmy Chang as a fan, as a person who watched college football back in the day. I love Timmy Chang, so I'm taking the Rainbow Warriors to win that one. Though I admit, don't watch that one. Even if it's on TV, don't watch that. I don't even know if you can find it. Is that game on TV?
That game
no.
That one's on ESPN Plus, but we have on this show coined the phrase ESPN minus, and that's probably where that one belongs.
I was about to say that. That's an ESPN minus game. I love you guys. ESPN minus for sure. I want that.
Paul Myerberg of USA Today joins us every week for the Big 12 football breakdown. We love you, Paul. Thanks for the time. We'll talk to you next week.
Okay, talk to you next week, guys. Bye.
That is Paul Myerberg. We'll take a quick break, come back with more 580 Sports Talk after this.
We got 1 hour left on 580 Sports Talk today. In that hour, we'll talk to Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll also take a look at the football action tonight. There's an NFL game. There's a Big 12 football game tonight as well. We got our sports headlines. It's just going to be me for the final hour because Brendan is off to Skinny Sports Bar and Grill for the Washburn Football Coaches Show.
That's right. No show last week, so it's been a while since we've seen Coach Schurig, but it'll be a blast. 6 to 7. You can listen to the whole show over on our sister station, Country 1069. Full hour talking nothing but Ichabod's football. Hope you'll join us then.
So Brendan's out. It's just me the rest of the way. Hope you'll stick around. Mitch Holthus will join us. We'll talk some football. We'll talk about the new Pac-12, and we'll have ourselves a good time for the final hour of 580 Sports Talk from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio on 580 WIBW. 580 Sports Talk on a Thursday afternoon. Thanks for rocking with us on 580 WIBW FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our video stream. We are on YouTube. 580 Sports Talk is the name of the channel. We're picking up a subscriber or two every day, which we love to see. Go and subscribe to the YouTube if you have not already. 580 Sports Talk. Lots of great content, including, of course, the live show. You can also follow us on Facebook, WIBW News, and watch us there. Comment in YouTube live chat or on Facebook. You can also hit us up on the Top City Metal Supply text line, 785-272-9429. I'm Dan Lucero, and it's just me for the rest of the show today. It's a lot of me. I hope you like me, just as a matter of course. But also, I hope you enjoy listening to me, because it's going to be a lot of me the rest of the night here on 580 WIBW. We've got 1 hour 580 Sports Talk left. Then we've got the 580 Preps Coaches Club coming your way. Now, typically, we'll do this on Friday nights throughout the high school football season, as we'll play our interviews with city head football coaches on Friday ahead of our high school football coverage. But we can't do that tomorrow because we got Royals baseball at 5 o'clock pregame coverage. But we can do it tonight because we've got high school football tonight. We've got a Thursday night game, 580 Preps, Thursday night football, presented by Lewis Toyota. Topeka High going for a 2-0 start after an impressive beginning to the Jason Philbeck era with a win at Wichita West last week. Tonight, they host Wichita Heights, another game against a City League squad. Kickoff at 7, and in the lead up to it, we'll have the 580 Preps Coaches Club, and then it's yours truly on the call tonight, pressed into action in emergency duty to do the play-by-play tonight. And my voice, I believe, has sufficiently recovered from the War on 24 last Friday to give you a good call tonight. Hopefully my voice holds up and I don't crack and break like I did a couple of times last week. It happens. It's week 1 for everybody, even the play-by-play guys. Now it's week 2. Hope we don't run into the old week 2 curse and have a bunch of weather delays. I don't think we're going to. Should be great weather tonight out at Hummer Sports Park. And if you can't make it to the game, you can hear it right here, 580 WIBW and FM 104.9 and online at 580WIBW.com. So lots of this voice, this person talking to you for the next, 4.5 to 5 hours. I look forward to it, and I hope you do too. We still got 1 more hour of 580 Sports Talk before any of that, though. And in that hour, we'll be joined by Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Chiefs. He'll check in with us and give us a preview of Sunday's game at Arrowhead Stadium. The Chiefs and the Bengals. That's a 3:25 kick on Sunday afternoon. Pre-game coverage at 2 o'clock. That game will be heard on our sister station, the Big 94.5 Country, 94.5 WIBW FM. We'll have the broadcast of that so that we can bring you Royals baseball from Pittsburgh and their finale of that series against the Pirates. So if you want to hear the Chiefs on Sunday, 94.5 FM, the Big 94.5 Country, is the place to tune in for that. We'll get Mitch's take on the matchup of the Chiefs and the Bengals. And we will also talk a little bit about the games to come tonight. There's Thursday night football on in the NFL. First regular Thursday night football game on Amazon Prime. We got the Bills and the Dolphins. Pretty exciting matchup for Al and Kirk tonight on Amazon Prime. We've also got a Big 12 football game tonight. Arizona State at Texas State. That's kind of a weird one. I have seen that betting line on either side of the fence. I have seen books have Arizona State favored by a point. I have seen books that have Texas State favored by a point or up to 1.5. So a true toss-up tonight. A fascinating Big 12 game. We'll talk about that. Also, if you want to do some scoreboard watching for the Royals tonight, already some good news for the boys in blue, even on a day off. The Tigers have already lost. They were looking to sweep the Rockies. The Rockies rallied in the 8th inning. They tied it in the 7th, took the lead in the top of the 9th, actually, not the 8th. Top of the 9th, they took the lead and held on for a 4-2 victory. So that means the Tigers drop a half game behind the Royals, or further behind the Royals. And it means that the magic number to eliminate the Tigers from catching the Royals is 10, because the Royals already have 7 wins over the Tigers, so they've got the tiebreaker. They just need to finish with the same record or better than the Motor City Kitties, and they would qualify for the playoffs ahead of them. So there is other action, though, tonight. All of the other wild card contenders are in action, at least the teams behind Kansas City. So we'll talk about that later on in the hour as well. Again, encourage your text. Top's email supply text line, 785-272-9429. Also love the comments, love the interaction over on YouTube in the live chat. Again, the YouTube channel is 580 Sports Talk. Mark's rooting for Topeka High tonight. He's looking for a T-High win in the YouTube live chat. And kind words from Jason and Vance in the YouTube comments. Do appreciate those. Flattery will get you everywhere. So thank you for the kind words about that. We'll do our best. I'll do my best. The royal we, the editorial. I'll do my best to have a good call tonight as Topeka High takes on Wichita Heights. Let's get into the 580 Sports Talk headlines, shall we? There is one big headline in the college sports world today. The Pac-12 lives. 4 schools from the Mountain West Conference, Boise State, Colorado State, San Diego State, and Fresno State, have all announced that they will be joining the Pac-12 Conference for the 2026-27 season, joining Oregon State and Washington State, who remained in control of the branding, logo, name, image, likeness, if you will, of the Pac-12 when the 10 other schools left that league in the summer of 2023. So now the Pac-12 is up to a 6-pack, if you will. And my reaction when I saw this was to think about, you guys know the Temptations still tour? The music group, the Motown group for the 60s and 70s, into the 80s. They still tour. Otis Williams is still around. He's one of the founding members of the Temptations. And he's maybe not one of the most famous members of the Temptations. That might be like David Ruffin or Eddie Kendricks. But Otis Williams and 4 other guys still tour as the Temptations. You can see them. I believe that you can go and see them. I don't know if they are currently touring, but I know that Otis Williams to this day is still performing. I believe he is the only surviving Temptation. If I remember the 6-hour-long miniseries correctly about the Temptation, I think he's the only one of the original, classic 5 Temptations lineup that's still alive. Anyway, I say all that about the Temptations to say this. This Pac-12 feels like Otis Williams and 4 other guys. And that is no disrespect to Otis Williams. I do not intend to diminish his contributions to the Classic 5 lineup of the Temptations. I don't. But David Ruffin and Eddie Kendricks ain't walking through that door. And they're the ones you think of when you think of the Classic 5 Temptations lineup. All due respect to Otis and Paul. But you think of David Ruffin and you think of Eddie Kendricks. Just like when you think of the Pac-12, you think of USC and you think of UCLA and Stanford and Cal and more recently Oregon and Washington. And you think of basketball, you think about Arizona. Oregon State and Washington State, they're Al Butler. You know who Al Butler is? Al Butler is one of the original 5 Temptations. They kicked him out of the band for David Ruffin. Good decision. Respect, again, due to Al Butler and his contributions to one of the great groups in the history of Motown and really in the history of music. But if Al Butler were out there, and I don't know if he's still alive or not, if he were still out there touring with the Temptations, that's what this Pac-12 would be. This is a pale imitator. And like I said at the beginning of the show, when Brendan and I were bantering about this a little bit, I just hope everybody's expectations are calibrated properly. I hope that the good people of Boise and Fresno and San Diego and particularly Fort Collins, Colorado, where I have many friends. I have a friend who works in the athletic department there, does some of their social media stuff. Huge day in Fort Collins. They have been aiming for affiliation with a Power 5 conference for a long time. There was some talk, if you can remember, when the Big 12 initially went down to 10, there was some talk about Colorado State being a school that had interest in a Big 12 membership. They've been gunning for this. They built a new on-campus football stadium. Like, this is something they've really desired for a long time. We know that Boise State has played football at a high level for a long time. They've won 3 Fiesta Bowls. San Diego State and Fresno State, traditionally competitive. So on the football standpoint, those are good schools. But I hope they know what they're getting into, because what they are not getting into is the old Pac-12. And what they are not getting into is a place where their conference champion is going to get an automatic berth into the college football playoff. The college football playoff is quite explicitly an attempt by the SEC and the Big Ten to keep the riffraff out as much as possible, right? Like, they're driving the bus. Greg Sankey's driving the bus, the commissioner of the SEC. The goal is, okay, yeah, we'll throw the rest of the Power Four some crumbs. We'll give the ACC champ an auto bid. We'll give the Big 12 champ an auto bid. But look, the committee is going to do what it does to favor the Power Two, the SEC and the Big Ten. They are not going to acknowledge this new Pac-12. This is what it is it's the group of 6 for now. And that's if the new Pac-12 doesn't completely cannibalize the Mountain West Conference, which I would hate to see, because the Mountain West has great history. Back when it used to be the WAC or a better part of the WAC, the Western Athletic Conference, great rivalries. And Colorado State's ditching years and years of history with regards to their rivalries with Air Force and Wyoming. That's a great league. It's a great mid-major athletic conference. And that used to be like good enough. And now it's not. Now, if you want to play football at a high level, you have to look for a way to enhance your TV deal and make more money and get more eyeballs and do whatever you can to get access to that college football playoff, which again is not going to be welcoming the new Pac-12 with open arms. I can promise you that. So I hope that the excitement in Boise and Fresno and San Diego and Fort Collins today is tempered by the understanding that, yes, you may be joining a legacy brand, the Pac-12, the Conference of Champions. But that TV deal ain't going to look a whole lot different than the TV deal you already got. And the access to the college football playoff, that ain't going to be a whole lot different either. So while I'm happy for those fan bases, I'm happy. Boise State, man, like 40, 50 years ago, that was a glorified junior college. And now they're as close as they've ever been to big-time football. Remember when they were going to join the Big East? Remember when them and TCU were going to join the Big East? I swear that was the thing that almost happened. But that's a good program, right? Consistently winning program, 3 Fiesta Bowl championships. The last 5 coaches at Fresno State have all had at least one 10-win season. So you win at Fresno State. San Diego State very recently has had double-digit win seasons. Colorado State's kind of the outlier here football-wise. They've got 1 double-digit win season since Sonny Lubick left. 1 in the last 20 years. They're the outlier football-wise. I don't like to talk about that because, again, I got friends in Fort Collins, and I want good things for Colorado State. I applied to Colorado State. I almost went there. But they're the outlier football-wise here. And those schools, they're going to look to add more. They're probably going to look to further poach the Mountain West. But I just hope everybody's expectations are reasonable and well-adjusted expectations to the reality that while that league will have a place on television, will be attached to a legacy brand, it's the Temptations with Otis Williams and 4 other guys. Or really, it's the Temptations if it were Al Butler and 4 other guys. Because Oregon State and Washington State don't float the Big 12 brand or the Pac-12 brand. They don't. They just don't. But that was the big news today, the big news this morning. Big day in Boise and in Fresno and in San Diego and in Fort Collins. The zombie Pac-12 lives. A couple of other headlines. First, a local sports headline. If you're following the professional basketball career of Keontae Johnson, it has been made official that he has signed with the Charlotte Hornets. spent last season with the Oklahoma City Thunder organization, spent most of the year with the G League team, the Oklahoma City Blue, but played 9 games for the Thunder on a 2-way contract last year. The former K-State All-American now goes to Charlotte and to the Hornets. Also have a Big 12 football headline for you. Sounds like it's good news for Utah quarterback Cam Rising, who injured his hand against Baylor last Saturday and had to leave that game before the start of the second half. He will not play on Saturday as the Utes take on the Aggies of Utah State in that rather one-sided in-state rivalry. But the expectation is that Rising will return to the field in time for Utah to take on Oklahoma State in 2 weeks for their first Big 12 game. And obviously that's a big one. Utah's got the tough one right out of the gate, right? They've got Oklahoma State and Arizona back-to-back weeks. So a tough start to conference life for Utah, and they want to have their veteran quarterback healthy and ready to go for those games. And it sounds like that is what is going to happen. And that's a good thing for Cam Rising, and that's a good thing for Utah football. Trying to see if we got any more headlines that are worth getting to. Yeah, I guess we'll get to the injury report or the participation report for the Chiefs and the Bengals. The notable news for the Chiefs, once again, a DNP did not practice for Hollywood Brown, as it is increasingly unlikely that he will play on Sunday against the Bengals. Also a DNP today for T. Higgins, who is not in uniform at Bengals practice. He continues to deal with a hamstring injury. So the Bengals offense once again looks to be shorthanded, as it is unlikely that Higgins will be able to give it a go on Sunday as well, which essentially renders the Bengals offense Jamar Chase and some other guys. We'll talk a lot more about that on tomorrow's program when we do our keys to the game at the top of the show. And we're going to talk a lot more about that after this timeout when we're joined by the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, as 580 Sports Talk continues here on 580 WIBW. 526 on 580 Sports Talk, and we are joined on the telephone by the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. His appearances on 580 Sports Talk brought to us by Hy-Vee and by Azura Credit Union. Contact Crystal Rippey, Kirsten McCall, or Kristen Ambergy about the credit union advantage in getting your first or your next home loan. And Mitch, Week 1, Game 1 in the books. The Chiefs 1-0 after that win over the Ravens. And Mitch, you've done a lot of football games. Have you ever seen one decided by as slim a margin as a toenail before?
No, I've seen a foot and a half a foot, but never a toenail. And I think you guys have probably discussed it enough, but the fact that that was a Sunday night football game and that there were like 60 cameras there, maybe twice as many as there would be for a noon game, that camera 38 got the Zapruder shot and the one that had the toe out of bounds, because we're getting those videos on one of our monitors in the booth, and I'm like, I don't know, you can hear me in the play-by-play, like I don't see enough necessarily to overturn it. And then Dana's like, ooh, look at this one. And it was the one that came from, I don't know, Mars or Saturn. And it was like, oh no, that's the Zapruder tape right there. That's the incriminating one. So we can all be thankful that it was a Sunday night production crew with all kinds of cameras.
What was the best thing you saw outside of the scoreboard showing a Chiefs victory at the end? What was the best thing you saw from the Chiefs? Maybe the most encouraging thing you think that came out of Week 1?
Tie between the obvious, which would be Xavier Worthy being explosive in different ways, only on 3 touches, but 3 very different plays. So it gives you his idols, Deshaun Jackson, and that's the guy he emulated growing up, and you kind of see a little of that in his game. But the other one would be not so obvious, and that is the growth on defense of Leo Chenal, Turk Wharton, the play of Felix Enudike-Uzama, because the defensive room, and today, in fact, I was in that defensive hallway, and they were buzzing about Felix's play. So you've got guys that are ascending and joining other really good players to make a formidable group, and that's a great sign. I wish I would have had more days to talk more about these guys, because I did talk about Turk Wharton, I think, in one of our later reports with you guys, but I did not bring up Leo Chenal, and I wish I would have, because he's kind of like Turk here, and the strides that he has made deserve a lot of mention, and you saw that in the game against the Ravens, because Leo had to shadow Lamar Jackson. He made plays in the passing game, rushing the passer, against the run. If Leo can back it up this week, you've got a guy that's on his way of having a really good season.
I'm glad you mentioned the defense, because I wanted to bring them up, because while you're watching the game, it can be frustrating when Lamar Jackson makes a big play, or the long touchdown that he improvised down the field to Isaiah Likely, who had a great run after the catch for that Baltimore score in the second half. And sometimes you watch the Chiefs defense, and they set the bar so high of late with their performance, particularly last season. But when you really look back at that game, Mitch, it sure felt like, had it not been somebody as good as Lamar Jackson, as fast, as improvisational as Lamar Jackson, that would have gone in the books as a dominant Chiefs defensive performance. I thought there were really positive signs all over the field for that group.
It took nearly 400 yards of total offense by Lamar Jackson to keep him within 7 points and give him a chance. What we've seen from Steve Spagnuolo, to look at total defensive numbers, I don't care if you guys are doing a high school game or a Washburn game or covering Emporia State or K-State or KU, total defense is a lot like 300 or 400-yard passing games. When you look at total defensive yards, they're not always a real indication of winning. What is scoring defense, obviously. That's Captain Obvious. But it's red zone defense. The Chiefs were 0-2, or the Ravens were 0-2 in goal-to-go situations in that game. They were 1 of 4 in the red zone. And what Steve Spagnuolo has shown all of us is, okay, we're 16th in total defensive yards. But if we're second in scoring defense, isn't that what really matters? And that game the other night was very, very much an indication of that. So you're a very astute point on your part. The other part of this is if they get the hot read to Pirine, that's an easy touchdown. If Juju Smith-Schuster catches the ball, doesn't leave his feet, that's a touchdown. That game was really closer of being 34-20 than 27-27.
Our guest is Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, joining us thanks to our friends at Hy-Vee and Azure Credit Union here on 580 Sports Talk. All right, Mitch, let's look ahead to Sunday against the Cincinnati Bengals. And I have to wonder, because the Chiefs are so good about not contributing to the outside noise surrounding a game. the next time that the Chiefs are giving a team bulletin board material, I swear will be the first. Teams that they play, not so much. This one, particularly not so much. But I want to ask you, being around, taking the temperature of the players, the coaching staff as they get ready for this game, is this one that still sort of heightens their attention a little bit because this is the one AFC contender that's gotten one over on them in the postseason, that this is a game that matters to them a little bit because there is a small fragment, at least, of 2021 in that AFC championship game that sits in the back of the minds of the guys who were there?
That, and there's always seemed to be talk coming out of there. When you look at Taylor Britt and what he said this week, I don't think he was misquoted. I don't think that's AI of what he said about, Xavier Worthy of like, yeah, I guess he's a fast kind of dude or whatever. Jamar Chase is always saying something. It's just, there's always something coming out of them, which is, to your point, is just the opposite with the Chiefs. They keep their mouth shut and play. I mean, this was the game where this is where you can doubt the Chiefs, dislike the Chiefs, disrespect the Chiefs. You're going to have to deal with the Chiefs. But I said that at the end of the game, after the end of the AFC Championship game in the 2022 season. And that was just kind of oozing out like it was with Kelsey of like telling the mayor, jabroni or whatever, like, what are you doing? But it's something coming out of there all the time. I don't get it. And it's Kyle Van Noy last week talking about, they're talking about the, F- in the training room. And I mean, it's just something all the time. It kind of wears you out, but the Chiefs don't say anything. They just play ball and usually win the game.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, is that they'll do their talking afterwards after they win. They're more than happy to talk after the game, but the before is the domain of the opponent more often than not. And you mentioned Jamar Chase, and he continues to be the headliner skill-wise on this Bengals team, and with T. Higgins' availability on Sunday in doubt, and no more Tyler Boyd and no more Joe Mixon, he's been the guy on that roster who has played the most against the Chiefs, in terms of the skill position players, and setting Joe Burrow aside for a moment, and that has had the most success against the Chiefs. How do you view how the Chiefs will match up against him, and how is it best to limit a guy like that? How do the Chiefs do it on Sunday?
Well, you got to do it in a multiplicity of ways. There is no one set way to go, hey, this is how you're going to neutralize him. I have seen Coach Reid use different ways, and sometimes surprising ways, of using even their own strengths against them. I mean, it's kind of a military tactic. And Coach is a military historian in many ways, but a phenomenal player, in my opinion. That's one I respect a great deal. Always keeps coming, high energy, high motor, but you can use that high motor against themselves, can you not? Haven't you seen the Chiefs do that to other guys like the Bosa boys or even Von Miller? So you're again very dead on with that. That might be the most dangerous element of this Bengals team coming into this game, but the Chiefs will go at him with a dozen different approaches, because you have to, or else he can dominate a game. We've seen him do it before.
Talking with Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs here on 580 Sports Talk. The Bengals defense has been successful against Patrick Mahomes in some high-profile games, most notably, again, that 2021 AFC Championship game, and their whole thing was to rush 3, drop 8, and that was something that at the time sort of flummoxed Mahomes, and he's gotten obviously much better against those kinds of coverages and rush packages as he's gone around. So that, to me, remains the most fascinating element of this game, the chess match between Mahomes and Reid and the defensive coordinator of the Bengals, Lou Anarumo. How do you make this matchup this time around, though, with a Bengals defense that did not appear to be as stout against the run as they have in recent years, had a lot of trouble with New England's ground game, and doesn't have the same secondary presence that it's had in recent years without some of their more prominent defensive backs over time?
Yeah, they went out and got Geno Stone in the offseason. They got Von Bell back. So their safeties are, older guys, but super smart guys. They can play Anarumo's scheme because he's doing different things. He's very Spags-like, and he's giving you a lot of curveballs or different pitches, as Coach Reed would say, of what Spags does to our opponents. Their corners are really a key here. I mentioned Taylor Britt. They moved Dax Hill from safety to corner. Remember, he was a high draft pick for them out of Michigan, and they're trying to make him a corner. But those guys got exploited in New England's run game. It's one thing to really appreciate the Chiefs' corners in the way they tackle. I think it's one of the more underrated parts of this team. Well, the Bengals struggle in that. So it's not just covering, it's also playing the run game and not getting run over in the run game. And yes, the Chiefs will see a multiplicity of things come at them with Lou Anarumo. And again, Hubbard and Hendrickson are your two keys there. Those guys, I'm talking big-time motor. They're coming at you. Hendrickson is a wrecking crew. But the Chiefs are better equipped now to handle all that. There's just a lot of stuff that Anarumo is going to see coming at him. And this is the most comprehensive offense, in my opinion, even without Hollybird Brown probably this week, that Anarumo will face. Meaning it's the combination of run game, vertical passing game, the fact that you got to defend the level 1 and level 2, even more than the 21 team that he beat in the AFC Championship game. This is a more comprehensive offense. So Anarumo's got the task of dealing with an offense that's coming at him with cutters and sliders and change-ups, not just him being the aggressor, Anarumo.
Like a Seth Lugo sort of arsenal, if you will, if I could make a Royals reference.
No question. Absolutely. No question. That's exactly a perfect analogy.
All right. Last thing for us, Mitch. We love your nuggets of the night. We know you got some big game nuggets for this matchup on Sunday afternoon, a 3:25 kickoff at Arrowhead. Give me something fascinating that we might not know off the top of our heads about this matchup.
Well, I think the slow starts of the Bengals comes to mind here, in the fact that if they lose this game, they'll be 1-11 under Zach Taylor in the first 2 weeks of the season. That will be the worst record by a head coach in such games in 55 seasons. And Burrow will be 1-9 in such games in his first 5 years of being the QB1 of the Bengals. That would be only Josh McCown worse at 0-10 in his first 2 starts of the season. So that puts that in perspective. The other one is Kansas City and Baltimore. Do you realize how many 3-and-outs were in that game?
It weren't too many, if I can recall.
0. Neither team had a 3-and-out. And in fact, only Green Bay was the only other team that had a 3-and-out or no 3-and-outs in the entire week 1 of the NFL season. So just kind of an interesting fact, but the point is the Chiefs stay on the field, hopefully, and they can get the Bengals off the field. But that, to be 1-11, if you start that way, that's just dreadful. 55 seasons, Dan, and that would be something that Zach Taylor, and that's not just Burrow having a bad wrist or appendicitis. That tells me they're just not preparing very well for the beginning of a season.
A desperate and loquacious Bengals team heading to Arrowhead Stadium on Sunday afternoon, a 3:25 kickoff. Mitch Holthus will be on the call as the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. He joins us courtesy of our friends at Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. Mitch, it is always a joy. Have a great call on Sunday, and we'll talk to you again same time next week.
Emphasis on loquacious.
That's a fact. That's a 10-cent word. I'm glad I was able to get that one off today.
No, but it fits the Bengals very well. Well done.
All right. Thank you for your time, Mitch. That is Mitch Holthus. We will take a break, come back, and tell you what to watch for on a busy Thursday night across the sports landscape. There's no Royals, but there is Thursday night football. There is Big 12 football. And, yeah, you can do some baseball scoreboard watching tonight. We'll talk all about it when we come back on 580 Sports Talk from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. 544 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan Lucero riding solo with you. Brendan Dworzinski is at Skinny Sports Bar and Grill here in Topeka. He's getting things set up for the Washburn Football Coaches Show tonight over on our sister station, Country 106.9 KTPK FM. Brendan will be hanging out with the coach of the Bods, Craig Schurig, previewing the home opener for Washburn football against Coach Schurig's alma mater, the Colorado School of Mines. The Ore Diggers coming to town for a Saturday till 1 o'clock kick at Yager Stadium. And they'll preview it all tonight on the Washburn Football Coaches Show from 6 until 7 out at Skinny Sports Bar and Grill. Go on out there. Say hi to Brendan. Say hi to Coach Schurig. Eat some wings, some queso. They have good food over there at Skinny's. It's not Tuesday, but they got taco special Tuesdays. Solid. Good stuff. My wife and I have partaken a few times. More than a few, in fact. So that's where Brendan is. Spencer out ill. He'll hopefully be back with us tomorrow. So it's just me carrying you through the rest of the show and then throughout the rest of the night here with some high school football coverage on 580 WIBW. We got Thursday night football tonight. Dolphins and the Bills. Our resident Dolphins fan in the YouTube comments, Jason, says he's nervous about tonight. He got old school Dolphins gear on. Asked if I'm old enough to remember the Zubaz team caps and pants. Buddy, I am. I am old enough to remember the Zubaz. I may or may not have had some Zubaz pants. They were, kid size. Wasn't an adult rocking Zubaz, but I remember them fondly. I remember that whole early 90s NFL aesthetic with like really bright colors and the Zubaz pants. You guys remember who was it? Was it Logo Athletic? Who made the hats? The hats that had like the splash on them. They had like the looked like a splash of color, or the shark fin. Remember the shark fin hats? Oh, those were sick. I had a shark fin Packers hat. And the starter jackets and the Zubaz, and everybody wore bright colors that popped instead of those really dark shades that everybody wears now. Yeah, the early 90s NFL football was an aesthetic, man. That's the way football looks to me. Like Dan Marino and Jim Kelly wearing Zubaz pants, warming up before a game on the carpet at Rich Stadium in Buffalo where it's 24 degrees. That's real ball. I don't think it's going to be that cold at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami tonight. That should be an edge for the Dolphins. They are 2.5-point favorites tonight, according to our friends at Prairie Band Sportsbook up in Mayetta, right there inside of Prairie Band Casino and Resort. 2.5-point favorites, the Dolphins. The total tonight is 48.5. I tend to lean toward primetime unders, especially Thursday night unders, but I'm not making a play tonight. I'm not betting this one. I don't feel real confident about it one way or another. My lean, though, is the Dolphins to win, because this is when the Dolphins are really good. September at home. These are ideal conditions for the Dolphins. They're healthy-ish. No Raheem Mostert, Devin Achane. I didn't see if Achane's playing tonight or not. I am going to endeavor to look up that information and see if he's going to play, but I'm not 100% on if he's playing or not. Try to pull up the injury report from NFL.com. Apologies for the slowness of this. Yeah, I know Mostert's out, but Achane is questionable, and they'll determine if he's going to play based on his pregame workout. So I haven't heard one way or another on Achane. If he can't go and Mostert can't go, that certainly diminishes their running game, but like Tua could throw for 300 yards, and it wouldn't surprise me. I don't think the Bills' secondary is very good. I think their corners are decent, but I don't think their safeties are very good. And I think that the Dolphins should take advantage of that and find a way to win on their home field tonight. This is a game they have to win. If they want to go to the playoffs, if they want to win the AFC East, they got to win tonight. It's a game they need. So that is my lean. But if you were asking me, should I bet on Bills Dolphins? I'd leave it alone. I would leave that one alone, personally. But if you want to play it, go up to Prairie Band Sportsbook in Mayetta. Get a bet down. Prairie Band Sportsbook would be a great place to be tonight, because you've got, obviously, Thursday night football. You got some Thursday night college football, too. And it's Big 12 play. And this spread has moved 2 points since I checked it earlier this afternoon. Arizona State is a 3.5-point underdog now at Texas State. Texas State beat the heck out of UTSA last week. That's a good program. G.J. Kinney is a name to know. That's going to be a Power 4 head coach probably by next year. Arizona State has come out of the gate, played really good football. They've got 2 wins already. And I'll be frank, that's one more than I thought they'd get. I think Arizona State was going to win a lot of games this year. Certainly didn't think they were going to win a lot in the Big 12, but they've come out firing. Cam Scadaboo, their star running back, has been terrific. They're just giving him the rock and getting out of his way. But that line, I have seen Arizona State favored in some quarters. Earlier this afternoon, it was Texas State minus 1.5. Right now at Prairie Man Sportsbook in Mayetta, it's minus 3.5 for Texas State. That's fascinating. I'm not up on the injury situation in that game for Arizona State, but that's the kind of movement that would suggest either a lot of money in on Texas State or maybe an injury for Arizona State. So, but that is another good test for the Sun Devils if they can get out of, is it San Marcos? I think that's right. San Marcos, Texas. They can get out of there with a win and be 3-0 going into conference play. We might have to start considering Arizona State a little bit more when it comes to teams that could upset the apple cart in the Big 12. Total in that game, by the way, is 59. So I think there could be a lot of points in that game. Also, there's baseball tonight. That's something else you can watch up at Prairie Band Sportsbook. You watch the Dolphins Bills, you can watch Arizona State, and you can watch the pennant races. Keep an eye on those with the Royals off tonight. Cleveland, Boston, and Seattle all in action tonight. I believe Cleveland and Seattle are at home. Cleveland's got Tampa Bay, first of a 4-game series. Seattle's got the Rangers. That's the first of 4 for them as well. The Red Sox are at the Yankees for a 4-game series. That feels like the Yankees are about to finish off the Red Sox. The Red Sox have been reeling, just kind of waiting for somebody to deliver the finishing blow to them, and I think that's coming. I think the Yankees are going to do it. Yankees are a 1.5 games up on Baltimore. I think after this weekend, we can stop talking about the Red Sox. I would not be surprised if after this weekend we can stop talking about the Mariners. The Rangers have played good ball of late. Too late to get back in the Rays. But they've got some interesting pitchers lined up this weekend, including the debut of Kumar Rocker, making his major league debut tonight. Remember Kumar Rocker? Big kid from Vanderbilt, threw a no-hitter against, I think it was Duke, in the Super Regionals as a freshman. His dad, Tracy Rocker, was an NFL player. Kumar Rocker wears number 80, or did at least as a college player. All kinds of hype, was a first-round draft pick twice. His elbow went. He's finally healthy. He's dominating the minor leagues. He makes his major league debut against that woeful Mariners lineup tonight. So that's something that bears watching. I mentioned Cleveland. They're at home against Tampa Bay, first of 4 there. Tampa Bay is on life support at 71 and 75. Math is hard to make add up for the Guardians to not win the Central at this point. Their lead over Kansas City, 4.5. They win tonight. It's 5 with 15 to go, and I think that probably does it. But the Royals did get good standing news earlier today with the loss of the Tigers. The Tigers losing to the Rockies. So the magic number for the Royals for a playoff spot is now down to Dick Hauser. The magic number is 10 for the Royals. We'll take one final break. We'll come back. We will wrap things up on 580 Sports Talk with the final word.
So we wrap up and we walk off this edition of 580 Sports Talk with a final word. And the final word for me, gosh, the Bengals talk a lot. For a team that's never really accomplished anything, I guess they've accomplished more than their AFC peers in recent years. They do have an AFC championship game win, which is more than they can say in Buffalo and Baltimore and really anywhere else since the onset of the Patrick Mahomes era. They just do a lot of woofing, a lot of flapping their gums. And look, whatever gets you fired up to play. I'm a big believer in what Dizzy Dean once said, the great pitcher for the Cardinals in the 1940s. It ain't bragging if you can do it. If you want to talk and you back it up, I got no problem with it. Do all the talking you want if you go out and you back it up. When are the Bengals going to do that? 2021 was 3 years ago. They don't have a meaningful win since then. Certainly don't have a meaningful win over the Chiefs. Let your play do the talking after a while. Once anyone has proven they can beat the Chiefs in a game that matters, then they can talk. But I'm tired of hearing the Bengals talk like they've done anything. Getting a little tiresome. Looking forward to the Chiefs shutting them up on Sunday. That's going to do it for 580 Sports Talk. We're on from 3 to 5 tomorrow. We'll be off early for Royals baseball. Lots of great stuff. Matt Derrick will join us. We'll preview Chiefs-Bengals. We'll preview the football weekend. We'll have our 580 picks as well. Right now, I'm going to head out to Hummer Sports Park. We got the 580 Preps Coaches Club coming up next, followed by 580 Preps Thursday Night Football presented by Lewis Toyota, Topeka High against Wichita Heights. For Brendan and Spencer, I'm Dan. See ya.